to fix it.
You want to like knock years off your life because you're constantly.
Is that what sleep apnea is? That
Sleep apnea is like where you stop breathing, your blood oxygen drops, but breathing through your mouth stimulates your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight. Because you think whenever you're running or you're stressed or you get worked up, you start breathing through your mouth. Where when you breathe through your nose, you breathe through your diaphragm, which stimulates the vagus nerve from your brain to your gut, which is like the biggest nerve in your body, which is virtually dictates what part of your nervous system you switch into. So when they say take like 4 deep breaths are these.
Through your nose, out your mouth.
No, breathing into your stomach.
Yeah, right.
So like deep means like anchoring on like your kegel muscle, which is like the muscle which holds your piss, and you expand into your belly and into your lower back. So a deep breath, your chest should not come up.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, I can't breathe through my nose at all. See, it's just totally fucking deviated my septum.
That's why they should like. I wonder if it's like I know. It depends on what ENT specialist you go see, but like.
See, the bloke I saw said, "Are you gonna continue training?" I was like, "Yeah, probably." He's like, "Well, there's no point doing it because you might break it again." I was like, "But I can't breathe."
Yeah.
I can't breathe properly. Like when we were just talking, we're on by the way. When we were talking about COVID before, I couldn't physically wear a mask because I don't breathe through my nose, so it would restrict my air so much. So I'd fucking get anxiety just wearing them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, it's like even if you like, so when I went and saw a ENT specialist, like ear, nose, and throat, I rattled off all the symptoms of like sleep apnea, even though I had them. But like, I wake up in pools of sweat, sort of like with my heart racing, and he was just like, well, you've got 2 options. You can either get a mouth guard made or we can like book you in for surgery and fix it. And I was like, surgery? And he went in and like, because they ended up cutting all the back of my throat out.
Really?
Because I couldn't breathe through my nose.
No shit. How much different was the sleep after?
It was half the problem. So I still stopped breathing. Like my snoring got less, but I stopped breathing. Like on average, I had a sleep test and I wanted to stop breathing like 41 times an hour. And if you're in hospital, so I had my last surgery, the nurse would come in and they're like, oh, your blood oxygen's at like 96%. So anything above 98, so like they like start worrying. And when I had my sleep test, my blood oxygen dropped down to 59.
Fucking hell.
She said if you were in the hospital, people would be running in and alarms would be going off.
That's insane.
This was every night.
No shit.
Yeah.
So for everyone who doesn't know, this is Lee. What's your last name?
Ryan.
Lee Ryan. And he has allegedly, I haven't heard the full story, but he has a bit of like a comeback story.
Always coming back.
Yeah. And obviously you're a fucking he's been in Morphevale for like 4 minutes and he's already had someone beep at him. One of my mates fucking messaged me saying, who's that giant cunt out the front of your house? And you're a bit of would you call yourself like a psychedelic adventurer or
I like introspective work.
Yeah.
So like it's, for me, psychedelic is a way of sort of bypassing some of the, I guess, like conditioning around like the mind.
Yeah.
So, your lens of seeing the world, where you get to see outside your own lens of conditioning at something through a different perspective. And it's like, I don't know, there's different mushrooms and ayahuasca are 2 different medicines to me. They both bring different lessons. And ayahuasca has got, there's this mother, the energy's there. They call it Mother Ayahuasca. So there's someone there you can ask for help. You can go, show me, help me. And where for me, mushrooms is me and my higher self. So I get lectured by myself.
No shit.
The higher self, like it's just a conversation with the true part of myself. It's the voice that I might ignore.
And what led you to like this sort of stuff? Was it the previous like drug abuse kind of, or just?
It was initially I would become aware of it through a guy's podcast called Aubrey Marcus.
Aubrey Marcus.
Yeah.
He owns On It, doesn't he?
Yeah. So it was him speaking about it and just the way that he articulates, I guess his psyche, and it was just real relatable because he's quite a healthy masculine, but he also talks like real poet, like he's a poet, so he strings and does really cool analogies, which I like really vibe on, and then just the way he describes his self-talk.
Yeah,
way of, like,
he's really philosophical
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah.
a very smart dude.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just like I love language. I love like someone that can articulate something really beautifully.
Yeah.
So like it was a lot of resonating with some of his past journey, I guess, and then what he would share about his experiences with ayahuasca. I was like, I think I need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fucking rabbit hole you can go down.
Yeah, and I think I sat 17 times last year.
You did what?
Sat ayahuasca 17 times last year.
In a year?
Yeah, last year?
Fuck.
Yeah, so it was a huge year. I remember getting to the end of last year and going, man, this year's been so stagnant. Like nothing happened, and then I'm like, oh, hang on, and I look at the timeline, and I'm like, whoa, no, this year was huge. Like,
Yeah, especially coming fresh out of like the lockdowns and shit.
yeah.
There would have been a lot of like suppressed rage.
The lockdown things didn't really. I think the biggest thing that come up for me throughout the lockdowns or the whole COVID thing was just, and it's a judgment of people, which is really unhealthy, but just frustration of how blind the world is. And like, I don't really want to go too much into that. 'Cause it's like I don't want to project like that because it's out of my control, and I try not to give too much energy to what I can't control. But it's that was a lot of it. But I feel like it's been a lot of good things have come out of it too. I think a lot of people have had to look inwards.
Did you, when you were growing up, so you're native to New Zealand, when you were growing up, did you have like a rougher upbringing in New Zealand?
It definitely had its challenges. I feel like my mum is the most amazing woman in the world, in my opinion. Like, I can still reflect back and just look at what she persevered through and what she accomplished as a single mum. But me personally, like the growing up with an absent father, and also absent, and as well as the most pitiful excuse for a male and male role model, a father, like that has been my toughest journey, because I listened to a book last year. It was called Becoming a King, Restoring the Heart of a Man, and it dropped the statistic in there saying that over 70% of all male psychological issues stem from their relationship with their father or lack of relationship with their father. And some people might debate that, but for me, the breadcrumb trails everything I've had to work through and everything I still have to work through in one way or another always leads back to him.
Yeah, right.
Like,
just from the absence and the poor fucking decision making.
Yeah, like for an example, like in a healthy parenting situation, the mum generally is the nurturer of the parent, and then the father, with the son I'm talking about, and the father to the son plays the roughhousing, the play fighting, the little bit of banter, the to and fro, which actually teaches the son how to differentiate between like sort of banter and when's too much. Like, you know, if they just play fighting and then he whacks and the father goes, no, that's too far, or but all the sort of like little, general like sort of like little bit of playing around teaches the son how to differentiate between an attack and just when it's not attack. So an example, like for me, I just grew up hypersensitive. Like in the sense, like if you throw a paper ball at me, I'm going to throw a rock at you.
Yeah,
Like, you know, and then you put that just into like verbal dialogue. Like, if you trigger me, I'm going to come back. Like, I'm going to rip you to shreds.
Yeah, you just didn't have that like kind of water over your back.
Just didn't know how to regulate. Even now, sometimes I might be calm, but I'm like a duck on water. Like, you know, like I'm calm up here, but underneath I'm like, you know, just processing what's coming up. But just a lot of stuff around the dad thing, which in that sense, like, I didn't speak to my dad for 22 years. I told him to virtually get fucked when I was 11, and then had a lot of rage towards him my whole life, like until one of my best friends, when I'd not long moved to Australia, brought up with me. He just asked me, he goes, do you hold a grudge against your dad? And I was like, yeah. Like, so much. Like, there was so much hate there. One, because of how I was so aware of how tough it was financially with my mum. And how now with last year, I see a therapist every week just because I love therapy. And then finding that part of me which was so aware at a young age of how poor we were and that I just couldn't ask for anything. And just seeing how hard my mum had to persevere through raising us and all these like sort of narratives around why he is such a piece of shit, like just feeding that story and that hate inside me. And then my friend pointing out, he's like, you need to forgive him. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, how the fuck am I supposed to forgive him? Like, what he did was unforgivable outside of all like the drunken bullshit that he was like as a father. And then but he's like, he just said it's like, it's poison, it's gonna make you sick. Like that, it's virtually like that sort of analogy. Like, you know, me hating him is like, you know, drinking rat poison and hoping the rat's gonna die.
Yeah.
And then so like this journey of like trying to figure out, took me about 5 or 6 years to figure out forgiveness for me. Like, you know, forgiveness for him, but that's for me. Because, you know, I looked at forgiveness was condoning, excusing bullshit, all of his actions and all of his lack of turning up as a father and a husband. And then it was like all through so many of understanding childhood minds, and then why he possibly hypothetically could have turned out the way he did, and then just comparing his generation to mine and looking at where I've got to now, which I'm fucking proud of, as a man and as a human. But he didn't have any of that stuff, man. Like that generation of like, you know, this would have never happened.
Yeah, it's crazy thinking about that. I always think about, can you almost excuse like that generation for being fucking cunts sometimes?
Yeah.
Because they had it so much harder. And you got to think, whatever they're projecting onto you was probably tenfold onto them.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just like this, you know, I did this course with my breathwork mentor, but she does these like sort of one night things once a month, and they've always got different subjects. But one of them was called Your True Purpose, and it was like there was this one sort of exercise where there was this board of all these words, just random words, and you pick 2 things that you want from the world and 2 things you want to give back to the world. And mine were the same for both. I want love and expansion, and then I want to give back love and expansion. So expansion for me, like those 2 are actually really a mesh together, because love and compassion. So love and compassion for my dad, because one, you know, I didn't know what he went through as a child, you know, and I can only understand like someone who felt the need that they had to drink that to that excess to escape whatever's going on in their like unconscious blind spots of their psyche. And then so love, looking at that lens through love and compassion for him, but expansion. So expansion for me is understanding, and the more I learn about myself and learn about like the possibility of why the way you are, I'm expanding my vision on the world. And as I expand, I'm bringing all my things in the blind spot of my mind into the open. So it's like I'm looking at why I'm reacting the way I'm reacting.
Seeing it from different, like almost different eyes.
Yeah, and finding all these parts of myself which are actually talking in the background and controlling the way I feel. Like when I see something and that voice that goes and instigates me to feel that way towards that person or that event. And like my therapy that I work the therapy modality I work with my therapist is called internal family systems, and why I like sort of went towards that is because it makes so much sense. Like, so you can imagine in some situations where you're like, well, a part of me feels this way, but a part of me feels that way, and they might be conflicting. You know, one, I can see why you did that, and like, you know, that part of me doesn't hold a grudge, but there's a part of me here which is so fucking angry, almost to fucking rip your face off.
Yeah.
And like these parts are from, you know, this one part could be from just my higher self, and this part could be from a childhood wound. And my therapist might go, how old is that part? And boom, instantly I'm like 7, and I can go back to that.
Yeah, no shit.
That childhood memory where that part was now created. And then when you've got conflicting parts, so these opposing forces, so one part feels this way, this part, and they're conflicting, that creates tension unconsciously in the background, which can bring on the desire to want to escape, like with alcohol or drugs. In my case, it was always drugs.
No shit. That's fucking... Yeah, I always think back to my granddad when he was growing up, and I think he lied about his age to get into the war, and it's so crazy thinking at 14 or whatever you can get given a gun and you're like, yeah, you have to go fight in like one of the most devastating wars that's ever been. And it's like, fuck, no wonder they drank and smoked and fucking, if their kids were annoying, they probably gave them a whack on the fucking head. It's because it's such a different time.
Like a developing brain, bro. Like if you would ask me, give me one word to describe a teenager, I would say confused.
Fuck yeah. I'm sure you're the same when you look back on your teen years, and even like fucking you from 5 years ago, and you'll be like, you're such a dickhead. Like just so stupid, just doing the stupidest shit.
I look through my teenage years in high school, and like it was so fucking hard, man. I was like in such a world of fucking self-hatred. Yeah. And like no self-worth.
Just self-destruction mode.
Oh, a little bit of that. I think it was just the self-doubt. Like I didn't have a girlfriend until I was 23, man. Like
shit.
I literally, I didn't trust anyone. And then also that was the biggest one. I just didn't trust. And that stems from my parents breaking up. Like when I was 5, like you think of everything you can remember in your timeline of your life, and ones that you can remember really clearly, there's an emotional footprint attached to that. That's why you remember it, because there's an emotion attached to it, whether it's good or bad. And I only just talked about this the other night. Like I remember asking a girl out, the first time I ever asked a girl out. Her name was Amy Briley. It was 2 years before high school. It was in the corridor behind our class, and where our bags would hang up in the hallway, and I was like, do you want to go to the movies with me? And she said no. And like, man, it's like that rejection has, like, because that is so vivid for me, that memory. Yeah. So the fear of rejection for me is so fucking intense.
Just over that little...
Just over that.
Yeah. Like amongst probably other fucking things as well, but that was just like the nail in the coffin.
That's the biggest footprint in my timeline when it comes to rejection. Like, and I feel like that's why I just...
You need to reach out to this girl.
Hey? The funny thing is that she asked me out the next year and I said no.
Fucking, yeah. It's crazy though, yeah. How your mind works. Like the layers that you don't even realise are there. Like I have so many memories that I don't even know until something triggers them.
Yeah. And that's the footprint.
Like you'll fucking go, say you're driving down a street and you see a house that you went to one night at an after party or something, and you forgot about this night, and then you see that house and you're like, oh my God, and it's like new fucking memories just unlocked itself of 12 hours of your life you forgot about. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's like, when we're talking about like this, when I was talking about this expanding part, like, so to me, it's all about having awareness of what you're thinking and what you're feeling. Because like, I think it's around over 80% of the world float below any level of awareness of what they're thinking and what they're feeling, or what they're feeling and what they're thinking about, like, because they just feed on each other. And most of the time, you know, your feelings are a really poor indication of truth. Like, so you do something and it instigates me to feel a certain way, but that feeling is really actually nothing to do with what you've done. It's a trigger off an old memory.
Yeah.
So I'm just projecting the past onto you.
So when was the first time you thought or dabbled in like mushrooms or psychedelics for like a use of therapy?
I feel like the most profound experience, like the first profound experience, because I done mushrooms recreationally when I was in New Zealand. I like what I thought.
They're fucking everywhere over there, aren't they?
What I thought of mushrooms back then, like my knowing, which was actually completely fucking fiction, was that the trip of the mushrooms was a poison, and it was your body fighting to stay alive. That's what I thought mushrooms was back then.
Oh, really?
And
No shit.
And you and I, when we were speaking when I first got here, like when you notice, like when you're on mushrooms, that like, oh, the house is dirty, and I used to have these two rules when I did mushrooms in New Zealand: don't go in the bathroom because there's too much bacteria everywhere, and the other one was don't look in the mirror because your night will be fucked. Because every time I look,
that's the fucking
because I look in the mirror and then all of a sudden I'm literally looking into myself, and I would end up shutting my bedroom door and sitting down with a piece of paper and writing down everything I'm doing wrong in my life.
Yeah.
And then I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be like, screw it up, throw it in the bin. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And like, because I didn't even know that it was a medicine. To me, it was a drug. And then I'd done it over here, like I shared with you. I did mushrooms. I went in the float tank, which was just a little bit overwhelming. Like, it was so overwhelming that it was.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that to most people.
I definitely will. I'm going to do it again. I just didn't feel like I knew how to navigate the medicine very well when I did that. And then I think, from memory, my first sort of really profound insight that I had from mushrooms was when I sat them with my ex-partner, and like she was, we were going in and out of conversation. And then I was like, sitting there, like just being all philosophical and stuff. I was like, wow. Like just, and then I look at her, I'm like, what are you thinking about? She's like, I'm just asking my body what it needs. And I was like, oh, I'll give that a go. I was like, what do you want, body? Like, what do you need? And then there was just this, what kind of felt like an entity, but it was this presence of my body in front of me, speaking to me. And it just said, I was a fucking gift to you, and you are taking your shit out on me. And I just went through all the memories that I've I've been struggled, and I'd smoke meth, or I would be self-destructive with food, and I would just eat myself into a coma, and then I'd wake up and eat myself into a coma, and just find ways to take whatever is going on up here out on this. And it was like, I was a fucking gift to you, and you were taking your shit out on me. And I was just bawling, crying so hard. I was like, I'm fucking so sorry. It was so intense. And my ex was like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Just hell. And it was that was a really powerful moment for me, where I just I slip in and out of gratitude for my physical body. Sometimes I take it for granted, but then every now and then, just to be like, man, I've only got one of these things, I better look after it. It has to last me a while.
Yeah, you're doing better than most people, I reckon.
I think sometimes the outside doesn't portray what it's like on the inside.
Yeah.
I put this post up recently, I'm pretty happy with my physical condition at the moment, but it was this is the first time I felt psychologically more healthy than I am physically in my life.
That's almost better.
100%, it's way better.
Yeah.
It's way better. Because in the past I've portrayed elite physical fitness, but psychologically.
Well, that's a massive thing with people. A lot of people who are represent elite fitness have fucking huge demons that drive them to that fitness, because it's such a release to go to focus on something for 6 hours a day.
And I so this isn't when I say this, this isn't my words. I'm just regurgitating this off a podcast. But I think it was around over 90% of female, and I know this falls males as well, but like this was specifically talking about female competitors in like the bodybuilding world or bikini body or whatever. But yeah, over 90%, it's a way of females controlling their eating disorder.
Yeah, right. No shit.
Yeah. And like it makes so much sense if you look at it, like, you know, they've got a set date that they have to be disciplined for. And I said, like, it's just not just specific to females, but I know it's like men, I believe it's a totally different kettle of fish, definitely psychologically unhealthy. I've competed, it is unhealthy. It's an unhealthy sport psychologically.
Just going up and down in weight like that much probably wouldn't be great for you either. For
me, I'll just lean into that part. For me, back in the day before I did any work on my psyche, it was I stayed insanely lean all year round, and it was all for the wrong reasons, which I'm happy to go into. But when I went to my first bodybuilding comp, I went even leaner. So now the bar was set higher of what I need to be, what I need to look like.
Is that more for, obviously not for like optimizing your health? It's probably just to stay aesthetically pleasing all year round.
Yeah, and that was all for external validation.
Yeah, it'd just be for like, it'd be good to get your kid off at a music festival kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, the leanest I've ever been was for Stereosonic.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. Like I've competed a few times.
What would you get down to, like 3 or 4?
3.8, I think.
That's like pretty much the baseline before you're going to die, isn't it? Like 3-ish%.
Yeah, it's like my glutes will look like spider webs. That's how much fangs they had on them.
No shit, so you were just walking around stereos like a gorilla.
I went to the Sydney one for it, and I remember thinking, like, you know, because that was where it all come from, like Ziz, like the
I was gonna say, because back in when Stereosonic and shit was on, and it was like they had a thing, like a whole movement, the aesthetic movement where they were just lean and jacked all year round,
and like
and they were mixing that with fucking ecstasy and fucking amphetamines, and like.
Oh, I was definitely a part of that world too.
Massive groups of massive cycles of steroids as well, probably. And no wonder that Ziz died at like 20 years old or 22.
Yeah. He had a pre-existing heart condition too, but like, it would have just been the straw that broke the camel's back in that situation.
Yeah. But what a fucking time to be alive.
It was fucking awesome. Like I said, I've competed, I think 4 times. And it's fucking shit. Like, it's such a boring sport. Like, you're waiting out back. Everyone stinks because no one's using BO. You're just waiting for your time to go up. It's not very, like, depending on the comp, it's not very social. It's just not it's not pleasant.
Does that tan smell like shit as well?
It's just like everyone's, like, depleted. Yeah. Like, it's just like everyone's, like, pretty, like, for me, it was miserable.
Everyone wants to eat.
My first comp, I just lay down on the ground. I said, can someone wake me up when I need to go on stage? And, like, where... At Stereos, you're on stage all day.
Yeah.
You know, and you get to dance and you're fucking cooked and you're fucking drinking and like, you know, this is great. Like, you get no attention from girls. It's all guys, but like...
just other gym bros.
Well, you look like a flog. Like, that was my thing. Like, it was a lot of, you know... I remember just comments of girls saying, put your fucking shirt on.
The shortest shorts imaginable.
Like, I was like, no. Like, why would I put my fucking shirt on? Like, I understand, like, you know... I can look back and go. The funny thing is, if a stereo was come up now, I'd still do the same thing. Like, I'd still get lean as fuck for it.
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck not? Like, it's.
There's nothing wrong with fucking like wanting to show off your hard work, but when you start like. When you start deteriorating your actual health for it, then it's far.
Well, the thing is now, like, I can get to that condition healthily.
Yeah.
Like, back then, it was like. A lot of like grinding, like it was, you know, fish, broccoli and beans all day, every day. And it was for all external validation. Like I remember I went through, when I started doing like introspective work and I'm like looking at my reasons and my obsession with training and being lean. And it was around this identity that I created. Like Lee Ryan from New Zealand, always tanned, always wears a hat, always lean. Like, it was like this thing that I feel like I needed to be for other people. And it was like this sentence that no matter how well I polished it up, it was like, I like to accomplish something that no one else can do all year round. And well, I'm doing that for other people. Like, no matter how well you word that, that is for other people's approval. And as soon as that sunk in, I was like, I can't train anymore. And I think I took about 6 months off, intentionally underate. I think I lost about 17 kilos of muscle intentionally to suffer, to like try and kill. Because if you were trying to lose that attachment to that identity, I have to kill that identity. I literally have to kill it.
No shit, that would have fucking sucked.
It was fucking
that
horrible.
would have sucked.
It was fucking horrible, man.
I fucking hate it now. Like, ever since COVID, because I was heaps lean and I was pretty fit. But ever since COVID, whenever all the gyms closed down and then I was working fucking 7 days a week,
Yeah.
I just never got back into a routine.
Yeah.
It's so fucking hard to psych yourself back into it.
Yeah. Oh, like even just returning back to it, it was like I didn't want anyone to see me. There was so much shame attached to it. And like, you know, and I love the journey. Like I loved, even in my last ayahuasca in December last year, it was quite funny because every ceremony there's I guess like a theme, you know, and I miss the theme because the shaman who I use is Brazilian, so she's got quite a thick accent. So sometimes when she's talking, if she loses me, like if I don't understand what she's saying, I sort of zone out. So I missed the whole theme of this ceremony. And then I ended up writing in my journal about halfway through. I said, this is horribly beautiful and beautifully horrible at the same time. And the first half of my ceremony was virtually like, to dumb it down, the medicine told me, she's like, you are so good at learning through pain. Like, where I literally will put myself into emotionally painful situations to try and get lessons from it. And then she goes, but you suck at learning through love and joy. And I was just like, and I was like, I can't even think of anything where I've learnt to grow and expand as a human through love and joy. And I was like, oh man, fuck. And then when we come out of the ceremony, I found out that this theme of the ceremony was duality. I was like, whoa, like, you know, literally. And it was just like coming out of that now where I'm trying to put myself into, I don't know, like just situations where I find ways to grow through joy, but it's fucking hard to find when I've just been conditioned for pain. Like I have a really healthy relationship with pain. Pain has purpose in my eyes. Like even if you're putting it into the context of training, like I'll go in there and the whole word that's running through my mind is torture. Like torture the muscle, literally. Like when you want to make it easier, stop, make it harder.
Yeah, right. I don't have that thought. No, that takes a fucking different kind of person though to push through that. Like, have you seen? Do you know much about David Goggins?
I don't. I've listened to his book. I feel like I'm the only person that didn't really like it.
It's
a really good example of how resilient a human can be.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, just the pure fucking resilience that he has. I just don't understand how people can have that in them. Some people are just. It's like anything. Like there's special outliers in every kind of thing in life.
Yeah, it's just not the path that I want to go down. Like he's awesome, good on you, and like
his is more like extreme fucking discipline. Stop being a pussy kind of mentality.
Yeah, I just for me, I mean, I just fucking love. I love love, man. Like that's my fucking jam. And like if I can go around and like, that's the type of like, I don't want to go around and tell someone they're not doing good enough, because the thing is just like, well, no, like everyone's fucking doing their best every day. And like even I have to remind myself that like some days where like, because like I'm super structured, like up generally between 2 and 3 every day, sauna, ice bath, meditate, read.
And you were doing that before it was cool, you were saying?
Yeah. Well, I caught, so I think sauna became a bit of a hot topic when Rhonda Fitzpatrick went on
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, and I've been following her for like 5-6 years before she went on Joe Rogan.
Well, is it that the heat shock proteins can extend your or reduce your risk of heart disease by like 80%?
It's like, I think the her basic summary of it is like it reduces all mortality rates by like between 40 and 50%.
That's fucking crazy.
So if you're looking at like cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, strokes, diabetes, like all
20 minutes a week or a day, is it?
It's 3 to 5 saunas a week, 20 duration, between 70 and 80.
Do you use infrared or
No, I've got a traditional home.
Yeah, the infrared ones aren't as good apparently.
Different.
Yeah.
Different. Like I think they have some unique benefits specifically to them. The heat thing is like and it's the same with cold immersion. You've got, the colder it is, the less time you have to go in it. Same with heat. The hotter it is, the less time you have to go in it to get that effect. So with infrared, you have to go in there for longer to get the same effects as what a 20-minute.
Do you alternate between both? Will you like jump in one, jump in another, jump in one, jump in another?
Yeah, that's what I do every day.
Yeah.
I go, depends. In the weekends, I play around with it. Sometimes I'll do cardio.
You have a whole setup at your house?
Yeah. Just a cross trainer, ice bath, and a sauna. And they're opposing each other. So usually on the weekdays, it's always sauna, then ice bath.
No shit.
And then in most nights, I'll do sauna and ice bath too. But the ice bath is way shorter if it's close to bedtime, like no more than a minute.
Yeah, Joe Rogan really fucking blew those ice baths up.
Yeah.
He's blown everything up though, even mushrooms and shit. Like he's opened a lot of people's eyes up to like mushrooms and obviously DMT and just fucking some of his best podcasts are the ones he does with Duncan Trussell when they're just on
love Duncan Trussell.
When they're on fucking a boatload of mushrooms. Have you seen his show? Midnight Gospel?
No. I listened to the podcast.
Fuck.
So I found Duncan Trussell through Aubrey Marcus. Like that.
Yeah, because they're all mates, aren't they?
Yeah. I love that. Like that. So he's been, just because the guests that he has on are just so, like, you get them on and then that might be an author of a book. And then
what's his podcast called? The Aubrey Marcus podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when Midnight Gospel's on, I think it's on Netflix. It's basically a podcast, but it's in like cartoon form. But you don't know it's a podcast. Like it's just a story. Like it's just one of those weird fucking random cartoons. Like with trippy as fuck visuals. It's straight out of a fucking DMT or mushroom trip.
Yeah,
it's insane visuals. And it's just got this like main protagonist and that's Duncan Trussell's voice. But there's also another character in it every episode.
Yeah.
And they're talking just like they're doing a podcast, but there's a show on. It's such a fucking trip.
Wow.
And in the last one, it's with his mother. And his mother was dying of cancer at the time. It's a fucking... it makes you, like, tear up a bit. Because they were having this conversation and she was, like, dying in the episode. And she's like, I'll be fine. You have to, like, let me go. And you can hear Duncan start crying and shit. It's fucking really powerful. It's a good show.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a cool show. It's like 20-minute, like little 10-minute, 15-minute episodes.
I'm going to have to look into that.
It's fucking really good. It's good when you, like, if you take, like, a little bit of mushrooms or you smoke, I don't know if you smoke weed. If you smoke a little bit of weed and you fucking just zone out and watch it, it's good.
I was, like, the stoner of my high school.
I was going to say, you don't smoke weed at all?
I'd probably had it. I had, like, a weed vape, so I probably had that maybe 3 or 4 times last year.
Yeah,
it's just uncomfortable for me now.
I get fucking really anxious when I smoke weed.
Yeah. The thing is, it's probably the one. If I have too much, it goes real dark, which is actually quite good sometimes because
you can go into some fucking deep holes in an edible.
Yeah. Well, I remember I had when I first got this weed vape, and I tried it for. Just because I track my sleep with all these little gizmos and stuff, and I wanted to see how much it affected my sleep.
It ruins your sleep, doesn't it?
It can because it backlogs your REM sleep.
I was going to say you can't really get into like a
lucid
deep
dreaming. Yeah,
I remember. So this was I don't smoke weed at all pretty much anymore. I got a script for it just to say I got a script for it, just because I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
And I was over one of my mates' houses the other day, and he gave me a dab. Like it's
spots.
Like is that what you call it?
Yeah,
like the wax?
That's how we do it in New
Like
Zealand.
the wax. And fucking I was like, what do I do? This is like I'll sandwich it in a cone when you get home. But that's like don't do all that. And I came home and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna give it a crack. And I couldn't get it off, so I just snapped it in half and put it in there and smashed it. But
was it like hash?
No, it's like a glass. So you use butane and you extract all the THC out of the leaf, so it's just pure THC.
Oh yeah. We used to get off. We used to like spot oils.
Yeah. But it's shadow. It's like a really sticky honey color.
Yeah. Oil.
And you can twirl it and shit. And I put it in
like
there.
resin.
I smashed it it was enough for fucking like 6 hits, and I didn't half of it, and I didn't smoke weed anymore. And as soon as I did it, I was like, oh, this is gonna be fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in my room, and my missus was falling asleep, and I was like, oh fuck. And I was just having an anxiety. I was like, I'm such a piece of shit. You know, when you like go into like those, and you're like, I fucking, what am I doing?
That's
like,
what I was leading into saying. It was like, it shows you some shadow stuff.
Yeah, and you're like, this is why I'm a piece of shit. And you're like, why am I even thinking about this? I'm just stoned. And but then you come out of it, and it's like like I was saying, when you come out of mushrooms after being so frantic, and you just get that like, almost like that buzz in your ear, and it's just like, woof, and you're just back. And I remember I was watching this show on Netflix, and I was like, it was a horrible show. And I was like, this is the greatest show of all time. Like, I was just in that zone where I was just fucking loving everything.
I think when I first got that weed pen, and like, because I was like a meth smoker, and I liked blowing big clouds, so I was like, I was on this like weed pen. I was like, well, fuck, this is unsatisfying. I was like,
yeah, they don't really cloud.
And I had like, you know, even though I was a stoner like back in the day, but I was like, oh, and I had 3, went to the kitchen, come back, had another 2, and then as soon as I blew out the second one, the first 3 kicked in. I was like, oh man, I'm in a world of trouble here. And I remember, like, I went and had a shower, and I like started washing my hair, and I was like, fuck, I'm using body wash, washing my hair. And I hopped into bed, and then I pulled my phone out to set my alarm, and then I unconsciously went into Instagram, and then I was like, what are you fucking doing with your life, Lee?
Yeah.
Like, you're prioritizing other people's lives before you're about to go to bed. You should be sitting here writing intentions or something. And I was just like, there's full, like, a lot of truth.
You get really fucking hard on yourself when you're too stoned. It's really different to mushrooms and like a DMT trip.
But if you write it down, there's truth in it too. Like, you know, there's so much truth in the fact that
Do you write down everything when you're on a trip?
It really...
Depending what you want to get out of it.
Depending on how much I take too.
Do you ever just fucking do them recreationally, or did you always have to go in for a purpose now?
No. So like I did them New Year's with some... So I was 7th wheeling, so there was 3 couples. And I went to... And I don't really like... I like drinking, but like I have to feel like drinking. And
you have to be in the mood.
Yeah, and New Year's just being... I think I was like real tired. Like I remember turning up with 2 monsters, like if I'm turning out with 2 Monster energy drinks, like clearly I'm not fucking feeling that shit hot. And I knew I had no intention of drinking, but I turned out with an ounce of mushrooms and my little grinder. And so I was like grinding them up. And I was just gonna, for me, like a small amount is like 5 or 6. That's a small amount for me. If I'm in a social setting.
That's fucked.
And so I was like having that, and then one of my friends goes to me, can I have some? I was like, yeah, all right. Like, you know, so I'm halving my small amount. So I gave him 3. And then another mate's like, can I have some? I was like, yeah. So there's, you know, 3 guys, 3 chicks and me. And then the third guy was like, well, you can't be the only person on it. So I gave him 3. It was between 3 and 3.3. 3 and 3.3, yeah, that's right. And it just was way too much for 2 of the guys there.
3 would fucking floor me.
And I felt like, and then it was just that moment where I just don't want to do them with people that haven't done them a lot. Because the guilt that I was feeling, because I was loving it. I was like, this is really nice. But then
they weren't.
He was just like, when's this going to end? You know,
it's not funny, but it's so funny.
Oh, it's just like the guilt that I felt, because I'm like, now I'm ruining everyone's New Year's. Like, you know, the girls are drinking, the guys are like, one's walking up and down the hallway, the other one's outside going, this is awesome, but if it could be 10% of this, it would be great. And the other one's like trying to give friendly mushroom advice, going like, it's going to end.
If they're not like really fucking good with mushrooms and they took 3 grams, that's like a fucking heroic dose for them. Like, that's a massive fucking deal.
And like, it was just, so that was a sort of segued off to answer your question, do I do them recreationally? I think, yes, a recreational one. I'd say recreation, maybe not. So a non-specific, like intentional journey for me is when I do like 16 or 17 grams, because like I know that's going to be so overwhelming. I'm not going to be able to look at anything I want to look at.
I couldn't even fathom fucking how that would feel.
Like my friend my best friend that lives here, he did 10 a couple of years ago, and like his description of it was very much like how I would articulate it. It's like
You're immobile at that point, aren't you?
Nah, I walk around, but it's just like walking around like this almost too.
Depth perception.
The 17 gram one was very full on. I felt like I went back into like some past life stuff.
No shit.
Yeah, it was.
You fucking.
And it felt like, I remember, because I always look at my watch unconsciously, but I remember looking and I was like, okay, it's 11:05, and then what felt like 5 hours was 2 minutes. I looked down, I was like, oh my God, it's only 11:07. And like what I just experienced felt like 5 hours.
Yeah.
And then another 5 hours passed and I'm like, oh my God, it's 11:10.
That's fucking too much. There's a video online. Do you know Ari Shaffir?
I don't think so.
Ari Shaffir is a comedian. He's in that Joe Rogan kind of circle.
Yeah.
And they were doing a podcast. I can't remember I think this was on the Joe Rogan Experience before he was big. I'm pretty sure it was on one of their podcasts. It was like really early days when podcasts were really niche still. And have you heard of, is it Salvia? Have you heard of Salvia?
Is that his last name?
No. Oh. Salvia's
yeah.
The bush or
yeah.
So apparently that was because you used to be able to buy it from like stores. That is so much stronger than DMT, and it lasts a lot longer. And he did a massive amount of it live on the podcast, and he fucking just collapsed and like was like laying down for like 15 minutes, and then he just kind of woke up and he was like freaked out a bit. He's like, and then he explained his trip directly after that, and he was like, I lived like a full life. Like he was there for like, he was born, he like met a girl, he fell in love, he had kids. It was like a full fucking life, and it was just 15-minute trip. But he was like, yeah, I was in there for like, it felt like 80 years. Like I was just in that trip.
Well, I wonder if you just went into a past life experience.
It's fucking crazy.
Like with my, because we'll circle, if we can, we'll circle back. So like we were talking about dad stuff earlier. Like my dad died 2-3 months ago.
Oh really?
And like I didn't speak about it a lot. I put something on my social. Yeah, well, this is the thing, because I think condolences, because I've lost a parent, but like I felt nothing.
Yeah.
When he died, like, and the only thing I felt that it was weird not to feel anything. And I spoke to my. I've done something.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, just try it out there.
It was just weird to not feel anything that, and because.
You can't force yourself. If you force yourself to feel things, though, then it's even weirder. Yeah,
I didn't. That didn't cross my mind. I sort of looked at it, but it was, because when my past relationship ended, that was the most horrifically painful emotions I've ever felt. Like the grief waves were that bad that I would piss blood. Like that's how much my heart would hurt.
With what? Sorry, say that again.
The grief waves of my past relationship ending.
Yeah.
Like the heartbreak was so, like I'd be in bed just like literally physically feeling like someone was ripping my heart out of my chest.
How long ago was this?
That would have been like 2 years ago maybe.
Yeah, right. How long was the relationship?
10 and a bit.
That's a fucking long time.
Yeah. And she was my biggest teacher, hands down, like through that relationship, like one of the most amazing humans I've ever met in my life. That relationship ending gave me a clear understanding of what grief is, and like grief is where you've got love with nowhere to go. Like I've got this love for someone and it can't go anywhere because that person's now gone. And so when my dad died, I had love and compassion for him, like we were speaking earlier around the forgiveness part, where I have love and compassion for whatever he went through as a child. And the fact that he had to live the life he lived, which is, sucked because it wouldn't have been enjoyable. But I had no love for him as a man, as a father. And I think why I was leading here. And so now I'm circling back to plant medicine, because this is where I've just pivoted back. But
this is where it all intertwines.
Yeah, and so I'm sitting four ayahuascas. Oh, and like, what do I do? The third or the sixth? Yeah, so 6 days.
What is that? You're sitting one in the...
I'm sitting 4.
No shit.
4 back to back.
4 back to back?
Yeah. Also, 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on.
Do you sleep up there?
Yep. And my intention to go into this, so my best friend that just moved here from New Zealand, like, I like to do things like to lean into painful, positive, like things like death is inevitable, right? And I feel like people avoid the subject. So I think of all the people in my life that I love that are close to me, and I imagine them dying, and I lean into that as hard as I can.
That's fucking such a twisted kind of, but like I understand, but like that's such a deep fucking place to go.
Yeah, and like even this can circle back to like the COVID with the gyms closing, because I went through that period of not training. When the gyms closed, I was like, oh, I've done it before. Like, and people, I like literally like bombarded my inbox. People like, what are you going to do? Like, because that was their outlet for whatever the outlet was, like, but for what the gym was the end of the day that they looked forward to. So when that got taken away from them, they were freaking out. And I was like, well, I've done this before. I'm just not. They're like, what are you going to do? I'm like, not train.
I'm going to be fine with it.
Or go for a walk. Like, whatever. Like, do whatever. I'll make up. I'll fill that time with something else that I'm neglecting because I have to go to the gym. So anyway, my best friend that moved here, so like even now to this day, my ex, like if I imagine her dying, like it fucking cripples me. Now just think, and then same with my best friend. Like if I lean into the feeling of losing him, like it's very traumatic for me. And then him and I have like amazing conversations. Like it's full expansive, like kind of like this. He just opens up, like just a back and forth. And so I shared this with him, and then this is what I love about our friendship, because like we'll talk about something, and then if I shared like that sort of idea of leaning into the people dying, then he went off and did the same thing about me. And he goes, oh, like initially I felt the same thing, but he was raised in a Mormon family, so a real strong belief in afterlife.
That's fucking huge in New Zealand as well, isn't it?
I couldn't tell you.
The Mormon religion is massive over there.
I don't know. So I had a lot of resistance to religion because I went to a Catholic school, and I believe, in my experience, that made me resistant to God in general because of the Catholic Church like that I went through. And then anyway, I'm pivoting it off.
We'll get on to the religion thing later.
And so, but yeah, he went off and did that sort of like, leaning into the death experience. And he goes, initially I felt the same thing, but then he goes, but then I found peace in it, because like his mum died when he was living here a few years ago, and as soon as she passed, he becomes spiritually connected to her. So he almost didn't, like, for someone who was so close to his mum, and this is another cool experience actually, that when I got him over here to sit Iowa with me in December, and that was a wild story. But when he shared me this, because he goes, the thought of like losing you is really painful, but then he goes, then I felt really at peace with it, because I know your spirit would be looking over me. And then he segued into the fact that he read something, an article on a study that people that have a really good belief in afterlife, like a healthy belief in afterlife, that they live a happier life because they know that death isn't the end of the line.
That's true. Like they're waiting for something better.
Death. Yeah,
which is that's a crippling thing to feel.
Yeah. Like that you have to get X amount accomplished by the end of your life, or time. It just changes your relationship with time in general, and so that, I was like, okay, cool. And that's what I'm taking into ayahuasca, is to ask the medicine, ask the mother to shift my, I guess, conditioning around death. And then when I already set that intention a while ago, and then with my dad passing recently, I'm going to try and connect with his spirit and have a conversation with him.
No shit.
Without his human, like, you know, his essence, his spirit. And I guess for people that aren't in the spiritual realm, like, I generally leave that part out when I talk to people now, because it might sound quite woo-woo.
I don't get it. See, I don't get heaps into like the whole spirit world, but when I did that fucking massive chunk of DMT that I was telling you about, and my backyard just like sucked in, fucking, like it's not a coincidence that you see the same thing that the millions of other fucking people have seen and felt. And I seen my granddad, which was weird, but he wasn't talking. He kind of just put it, and you feel like the warmth, like you actually feel it. You don't. It's not like just a vision. But DMT is the most 4D experience you can ever have, because you can feel it, and like it's very odd. And you don't. It's odd because you don't get. You don't get out of DMT and you're like, oh, I want to do that again. You're like, fuck, I'm good.
That's what I like. That's what I like about plant medicine, is like
you don't. It's really hard to. If you get addicted to it, you probably have some sort of pre-existing fucking issue that you need to figure out.
Yeah. And I think it's like I can have mushrooms sitting in the cupboard for like months
and just not even think about them.
Well, because and this is like, if you look at, I have some people in my life which are like, every time I come out of a medicine journey, like I'm like, oh man, I just want them to come. Like, I just want them to do it. And like some people that just like, oh, I don't do drugs. I'm like, it's not a fucking drug.
Yeah, it's not like an amphetamine.
It's not a drug.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you look at the definition of medicine, it's something that heals.
It grows on the side of the fucking road. And do you know what's crazy? The other day I did a podcast with a bloke. It didn't get released because the audio fucked up. He was driving to my house, and an Amanita. He's a mushroom head. He's a professional cyclist, and he was driving to my house, and Amanita muscaria just on the side of the road, like the massive fucking mushroom that looks like it's got the red with the white dots, like a Santa mushroom.
Was that the one that Rogan was talking about?
Amanita fucking muscaria, massive one. And he's like picked it and he brought it in my house. He's like, look at that. And you have to, like, these ones you have to treat them in a certain way before you take them, or they're really poisonous.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. It's just like they grow everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not like an amphetamine where, like, it's being made. It's crazy, but that's going back to the older generation when they were getting propaganda, right, like spread out to them that smoking was good for you, but marijuana's horrible.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. Like, all those sort of like pivotal, like those things that get marketed, that, you know, you look at the,
even now,
like, even the, you know, you've got the food pyramid, which was brought out by the sugar industry. But then I linked this one recently, so I'm listening. I love like relationship books and like things about like communication. So I'm probably about 3/4 of the way through Jay Shetty. His book is called 8 Rules of Love. And he talks about this one bit where there's this rule of thumb of how much you're supposed to spend on an engagement ring, which is like 3 months or whatever of your wage.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
That was off a commercial brought out by the diamond industry in the 70s.
That's fucked.
It was, because he described it was like a silhouette of like a man and a female, and the only thing that wasn't black and white was the ring. And it said at the very end of it, is like something to do with the representation of love, you know, of like 3 months salary. Like, it was literally worded of what is supposed to say 3 months is what you should spend.
Did you see? It was fucking hilarious. I seen Joe Rogan make a fucking Instagram post. I seen a lot of people make Instagram posts of it. It was months ago when the American Health Organization, or the World Health Organization, I think it was the American Health Organization, they brought out the new chart of what foods were good for you, like their 5 food group things, the pyramid. And they put meat down the bottom into like only rarely, and they had like cereals above meat, like cereal, like sugary, like they put one of the top American cereal brands like Lucky Charms or whatever, they put that in one of the ones that was acceptable 3 to 4 times a week, but they put red meat down the bottom to where only once or twice.
I think even though, to expand on that, like red meat, I agree. Like, you know, if you
do you fuck with diet a lot?
I eat like a caveman. I ate the same thing.
You really?
Yeah.
Just training mentality, just...
Oh, it's just whatever's easy. But like
Really?
I ate like organ meat sausages, which are like half organ, half like, so half beef, half kidney liver, half lamb, half brain, kidney liver, and they're grass fed. So this is what I was like leaning to was saying, is that, you know, red meat isn't just red meat. Whatever that cow eats is what dictates whether that red meat is good or not. So a grain fed cow.
Growing up in New Zealand, you would have had access to
It's
fucking...
only grass fed.
I was going to say you would have had access to... And lots of deer.
Yeah,
Lots of deer.
I didn't like venison when I was growing up.
I fucking love it.
I can't even remember last time I had it actually.
So
My
nice.
mum, when I was younger, went out with this guy. She was engaged to him for one period for like 5 years, and this guy hunted and killed absolutely everything you could hunt or kill. Like, you know, go out pig hunting, deer shooting.
There's heaps of it over there.
Every type of fish you could fish, like out in the boat, trout fishing, surf casting, duck shooting, turkeys, goats. Like, we had pig dogs around the house. We had this one pig dog. Like, most pig dogs are crazy. They've got to be kept in the run because they're solely bred and conditioned to hunt pigs. He had this one name. His name was Bruce, and he was a real expensive one. But he was half Rottweiler, half Bull Terrier.
Oh, what a fucking unit that
So
would
this
have been.
thing was like the size of, like, probably not the size as your Rottweiler, but like, you know,
With the
similar,
fucking...
with the snout of a Bull Terrier.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And then the colours of a Rottweiler. So he was virtually like just a giant Bull Terrier, and this thing was all scarred up from tusks and shit. Like, and he was
Pig dogs are fucking different. Do you know
but
what?
this guy was so placid. His name was Bruce.
But when it was time to work, it was
Yeah.
fucking time.
So like, you know, you could go out and if it got to the end of the day and like he was off chasing a pig, and then I was like, all right, it got dark. You could just leave your jumper on the ground and you go off and come back the next day and he'd be asleep on your jumper. That's what he was trying to do.
Oh shit! Did he do when you had the pig dogs and shit? Do you like armor them up beforehand?
See, I was so young, I can't even remember.
Because I follow this bloke on TikTok, and he has the people say it's cruel. These dogs are having the fucking time of their lives. They are doing what dogs are supposed to be doing. Like my like Bruno, he looks like a menace, but he's a bitch. He's like...
He looks like a dopey teenager.
He's meant to be fucking like chasing shit and biting shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's in him to do that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
these pig dogs, when you see them, they're so fucking happy and excited.
Yeah.
But they all armor him up, and it's hectic. It's crazy.
I think that thing might be legally. I think you're supposed to now.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being.
So the first time I went up to rural New South Wales last year.
You can't eat the pigs here, though, can you?
Oh, I wouldn't. They're very gamey, and I don't know if they carry heaps of disease.
I thought it was like something to do with like that. Was it 1080p, like the pesticide that?
I fucking wouldn't. I wouldn't. And they even just... Yeah, I don't know. Wild pig, I wouldn't eat it anyway. It's just fucking too strong for me. I don't know about like if there's anything they eat in the bush or anything that'd be bad for you or not.
I think that's what I was aware years ago. It might have changed now. They might not be using that type of pesticide anymore. But.
Yeah, fuck it. I went up to rural New South Wales, and where we were, it was... Everyone has 200-acre blocks. It's just normal there. And like if you go on someone's property, they're going to shoot you. Like, it's fucking mad hick town.
Yeah.
But it's so cool. And we went up to this person's house, and there was this Maremma, like this big sheepdog, sitting there. And it ran up to me, and I was playing with it, and she got so mad because she was like, that's not meant to do that. It was a puppy in training. It was a guard dog. It was just bad at its job. But I was hanging around all these pig dogs, and they were so cool to see. Like, they were so lean and just strong.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, these dogs that I remember were just like...
Growing up in New Zealand around that thought, like if you would you ever think of what your life would have been like if you were born to a man like that and you were raised in like a functional household?
Well,
you probably wouldn't be the same. You'd probably...
This... Like, when I like reflect into my childhood, I can look at some of the stuff which I was exposed to, but then how aware I was of things. So my mum tried to hide this, but the guy that I'm talking about, the guy who like hunted and killed everything, he cheated on my mum. And I remember my mum hiding, like, you know, how that affected her, trying to hide it. But like, I remember this thought as a child was like, I'm never going to do that to a woman. Like, because how much it fucked my mum up. Like, I know, like, you know, I'm not there's no way I would ever, or could ever, like, cheat on my, like, a woman that I love.
You can tell you get heaps emotional when you speak about things too. Like, you're very connected to them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you get very emotional when you speak about certain topics. You can tell, like, how connected you are to it, especially, like, around your mother and stuff.
Yeah. Well,
is she still alive?
Yeah. She lives over here now.
She lives here?
She lived here before me originally, actually.
Yeah.
She lives out in, where is it? Gawler East. So like Barossa West.
Nice. Shout out to Mum.
Yeah, she's a fucking champion, man. It was like really, there was this, when my mum separated with her, like my stepfather, she went and did this retreat. Like, it was like a introspective self-helpy sort of retreat, which was like really powerful for her. But it was right around the time where I started doing a lot of work on my like internal like self. So since that we've just like
bang.
Yeah, and we're just like, I just love talking to my mum.
Have you been back to your childhood house?
Oh, there was too many.
Too many?
Yeah.
I was going to say that'd be fucking interesting for you to go there and get the vibes of like where all the bad shit fucking...
Well, there was the one, it's like even when I look at the one where my parents were still together, like there's just some real weird, vivid memories there.
It's probably good for you to like go and like get the feel for it though, eh?
Well, I'm pretty old, so I don't even know if the house is still standing.
Yeah, no shit. It's probably fucking townhouses now.
But because I am a trained breathwork. I don't know if you know what breathwork is. It's so.
Is that like breath meditation?
Nah, it's literally like it can put you into a state like a psychedelic.
Yeah, I've heard heaps about like.
It's wild, bro.
I've heard heaps about it.
It's wild. Like
it's legit. I always thought it was a little bullshit.
No,
it's legit.
Man, it is. I've seen some of my most powerful visuals I've seen have been in.
Obviously, that would take years to learn.
No, like if someone's like, it took me a year of study to become a facilitator.
And physical fitness, does physical fitness factor into it?
No, it's because it's a breathing tempo. So like I guide someone through it. The thing is like it will generally bring up some full on shit.
No shit. It makes sense because people can do crazy shit with breath like that. Wim Hof can fucking...
Yeah, his is a lot of physiological health benefits. So like
he can fight off... They did a thing where if they injected him with some sort of flu...
E. coli.
And he fucking fought it off with his breath.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds full of shit, but he like legit changed his breathing. And
he's got to the point now he doesn't even need to use his breath. He can just do it with his fucking mind, man.
That's fucked. And he can go into like sub-zero temperatures and
like control his temperature with his mind. He doesn't even need to do the breathing anymore.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
It's pretty. Yeah.
It's so weird seeing.
So that's physiological. So I understand that to a relatively good degree. Like when you're doing oxygen holds deprivation, what it does is to your heart rate variability. So like you changing your virtually the way the pattern your heart beats, and that. You know, when you and I in the beginning of this, when we're talking about mouth breathing, nose breathing, stimulating that vagus nerve from your brain to your gut, which is the largest nerve in your body, that's controlled by breathing. So, like, you know, you can think someone's having a panic attack. You go take 4 deep, controlled, conscious breaths will literally calm your nervous system down and bring you back over. So what he does is it's all to do with the physical stuff. I know there's a mental aspect to it. The stuff I'm talking about is a somatic healing. So like it's...
Do you have to like zone out completely when you're doing it?
Someone's guided you. Like, so I originally started with just going to a group one with these trained facilitators, and you follow the breathing. You're just like, couldn't believe it, man. I completely dropped out of my body. Massive visuals, like massive emotional releases. So for me, just going back to what you said about like me being able to show emotion, that is what breathwork gave me, because before that I didn't even know how to cry. Like I was so good at any time emotion would come up. Like, I don't know if...
I'm fucking horrible at
and
crying.
it used to just come to here, and I go...
Yeah, I'm fucking horrible at crying. I'm so bad at it.
Oh,
I'm so bad at dealing with it too. When people cry around me, I get so fucking awkward about it. It's such a weird... But because it's just so weird.
It's conditioning, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know... And that's,
my dad's not a crier.
Yeah.
He's not a whinger.
And, you know, when I told you, like, statistic around... psychological issues stem from relationship with your father. Like, you might have a beautiful relationship with your dad. I don't know.
I've never seen. I've only seen my dad cry once.
Yeah.
When his brother died.
Yeah.
That was it.
And this is
it was very brief.
And this is your conditioning around why you're enabled, because like your foundation of what you believe a man should look like comes from him because he was your father.
Yeah, I would never cry in public.
Oh yeah, I mean, but that's not uncommon.
But that's not. It's not me saying it's just I can't bring myself to do it. I know it's weird. That's a weird thing.
Well, it's not weird. It's very common. Like, cause, you know, and going back to our conversation with, like, around that generation of guys and finding, like you said, excuse for my eyes, it's just having like understanding. Because nothing can excuse, like nothing. If you severely fucked me over and I just choose to forgive you, that doesn't excuse your behavior. It's just, and it doesn't condone it. But that, you know, you're passing down generations. So it's like you can either look at like your inability right now to cry and find ways to healthily move that emotion, or if you have a son, you'll pass it on.
Yeah, I'll have like a 3 month of like I call it my quarterly meltdown, where I'll be like every quarter I'll just fucking get so overwhelmed.
Well, because it's here, like we suppress and repress, and like it's literally like what I used to describe. It would be like every time that would come up, I'm like,
and then it's the most minute thing will just fucking set me off, and then I'll just but then I'll be fine for like another like.
Because that's what, you know, if you look at what if you break down the word emotion, it's energy in motion. And like, so you either, when that emotion arises, if you have never been taught how to healthily move it, you suppress and repress it. So it's like when circling back to the breath work, when I finished my training, and like I was the only guy in a room of 11 women, like I was the only guy in the whole class. And so and we had to share the most powerful thing that breathwork had given us. And like I had watched some of these women had some of the most insane, like transformational things come through, and I was like, I don't really have anything.
It's so strange that it's coming from you as well, because you do not look like the kind of guy that they would have been so taken back when they probably saw you as well.
Well, the training went for a year.
Yeah, like, right. So you built bonds with these people.
100%. I know them more than most people on this planet. Like, it was such an open, vulnerable group.
Yeah.
Like, there was so many tears. Like, I don't have resistance to crying in front of people at all. But going back to what I was saying, that comes from breathwork. Because before breathwork, I had never cried. In my first breathwork session, I cried one of the hardest I've ever cried in my life.
So with the breath work, just for someone who doesn't know anything about it, is it just literally a series of breathing exercises?
It's a continuous breath, which you never do. So you think, if I was to guide you through it, and the thing is, like, it's not saying I would attempt, but like virtually we go in there, we always have a conversation prior to it. Like, you know, you need to feel safe with me as a facilitator because, and the thing is, anyone that comes to me or a breathwork facilitator, they are coming there because they know that they need to shift something. You know, they're not there for no reason. There's something that they're stuck on, or they know that they just are like sick of being how they are. So they're there to move through stuff, or they're there for change. And so usually, in my experience, when someone comes to me, I can look in their eyes and I'm like, they're bubbling already. Like, you know, half the time, more than half the time, the people they've already got tears in their eyes as they're sitting on my couch. Because they know that something's probably going to come up. But we talk, and then lying down on a mattress, I'm sitting down next to you, and it's a continuous breath. So it's like, and you just don't stop.
No shit. So are you building up, like, say, what's the go? Is there like a science behind it? Are you just building up like CO2?
Yeah, so in my experience...
Because I remember when we were kids, we used to like huff and puff, and you'd get one of your mates to like smash you in the stomach and you'd fucking pass out.
Yeah. So like for me, it's like it does fucking with your oxygen. Like, so we didn't get taught any of that. Most of the training was around how to counsel people. It's around emotion. So like we had one weekend on sex and relationship, another weekend on the birthing process, because a lot of people can revisit their birth because that can be traumatic. If your first experience,
fucking oath it could be.
If your first experience coming into this world was like ripped away from your mother because there's some sort of issue with the birth, you know, and you had to get taken away and incubated where you were supposed to be,
that can fuck you up
massively, bro.
Really,
massively.
From no shit, you remember, because it's just that's your first memory.
Your first experience on this earth was traumatic.
No shit.
Bro, it's crazy when you start looking into it. Like, so we even did underwater breath work. So we went in a heated pool with a snorkel doing that breathing tempo. You had your person holding you up. And I went straight back into the womb.
Where's this facility?
No, so this was training to become a facilitator.
Oh, right.
So like to be able to be someone who can guide someone through it. Yeah.
And then do you do it at a specific facility?
I do it at my house.
Oh, you do it at your house?
Yeah, I do one-on-ones.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
No shit.
So some of the stuff which I've seen through people that come up, man, is wild, like full timeline stuff, people going straight back. So my experience is I've gone back into childhood trauma, and I find my little child self standing in a room by himself and then having to reintegrate him. Because that's what happens, like those emotional footprints that happen. Like if something really bad happened to you as a child, that part of your childhood, that part of you as a child gets left in time. And And I went back into this room and I found my inner child, and he was standing there, and like my mentor helped me integrate him back into myself. It was wild, man.
Do you still have days where you just fucking... someone just makes you want to fucking smack them in the mouth?
Every day.
Yeah, I was going to say. So for everyone who like fucking thinks that he's just all zen and shit, it's normal to have days where you just want to fucking floor someone.
Because I'm a leading hand in my job that I do, and like people that are fucking lazy do my head in, people that are negative do my head in. Like, and it's all a mirror. Like, you know, I've got to look someone who's been lazy. Like, have I ever been lazy? Fucking I've been.
But
lazy.
sometimes you can't fucking like. Sometimes it's just things happen so quick you don't have that time to process that.
Well, you think like, so your subconscious mind, so like that reactional part of your brain is 20,000 times faster at processing information than your logical brain.
Yeah, fucking oath, that makes a lot of sense.
Because you think like, if you're in a car and you get in a car accident, like you don't go, oh shit, swerve to the left. It's not a conscious decision.
It's fucking go.
You know, you just everything's think because but then when you're tired, if you're if like the first part of your brain that shuts down is logic.
Yeah, right.
Because it's the slowest part of your brain. Like
that's why when you're tired, you think you do dumb shit.
Yeah, you're reactive.
Yeah.
You know, you're not responsive, you're reactive.
I'm so fucking reactive. Like with everything though, I've always been like, I will always speak way before I think
unconsciously. The thing is, like, circling back to even before we started this podcast, you telling me that you can't breathe through your nose, which tells me 110% that you're not sleeping properly.
Oh no, I have horrible sleep patterns. Yeah. Horrible. I wake up
so you
with
don't,
like dry mouth.
So you literally do not know what it's like. Because I, like, speaking from experience of my sleep journey, because you think of someone who drinks every day, right? They don't even know what a hangover feels like, because hangover is normal.
Yeah.
So for you...
Tired's normal.
Tired is normal.
I think I can run it, but I can run off like 2 hours sleep, 3 hours sleep.
Because sleep is actually detrimental to you.
Yeah.
So for me, when I was having my breathing issues, like before I got my surgery and I had got my machine...
Do you sleep with the machine now?
Yeah. Or once I get above 114 kilo, I have to.
How much are you sitting on now?
122.
Fuck.
It's literally like when I had this recent bicep tear, I got down to 105.
Yeah.
And I could sleep without my machine. I was loving it because I was like, just like, as long as I sleep
by myself. Is it because of the size of your neck? Yeah. I was going to say, because they correlate sleep apnea a lot to the size of your neck.
It can be multiple things. So like, even if you're looking at the development of the human brain over like since we were primates, right? Our skulls haven't changed. The shape of our jaws haven't changed, but our voice boxes have developed. The frontal lobe, all these things which have got bigger, but this hasn't got any bigger. So like the roof of our mouth has, back, if they find all these skulls from back in the day, like pre-man, all the teeth were perfect. But then as all these things are developed and the roof of our mouth has gone up, now they get crowded. So that creates breathing issues for our noses.
And they're also using their mouths for a lot more, eating like tougher meat, fucking...
Well, as soon as we started cooking food is what made everything start developing super fast.
Do you get onto that stoned ape theory? Have you heard about that? How they... Oh, fuck. That's actually a nice breeze. How they are attributing the massive leap in brain size in apes discovering mushrooms in cow shit.
It doesn't surprise me.
That's like, it's a massive theory that's going around that because
I did, because the stoned ape thing, like I feel like I've heard that recently.
So there's like, I'm gonna butcher this, and I'm making up the figures. So like, take this with a grain of salt. It's true. It's like an actual theory, but my numbers are wrong. So there's like a few million years or whatever where the human brain developed like times 10. Like it went insane.
Yep.
And they're saying that it could be because chimps or whatever primate we were found mushrooms.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even if you're like looking
and that's how they started using utensils, and then that's when they got fire and this and that. Yeah.
Because even if you look at like all the great philosophers that most of still to this day, like our, Carl Jung, all these people where all of our like psychological theories of the brain are like based around still in modern psychology. They were all on mushrooms hard.
Yeah, fuck yeah, they were. And there's have you read much of Terence McKenna's stuff?
A little bit. Yeah.
I've got a book inside. I'm pretty sure I got a book called The Sacred Mushroom inside.
Because I've got a friend who I met in Ayahuasca in December, actually, and he grows his own mushrooms. So I've heard not a lot, but quite a bit regurgitated from him just through our conversations. And it's like there's this...
He's the godfather. He's the fucking goat, Terence McKenna.
Yeah, he's got some good stuff. But it was like this... He'll come to me about things because he goes, "Oh man, you know a lot of stuff," and I'm like, "Everyone knows a lot about what they know a lot about."
Yeah.
And I'm like, some of the stuff he knows a lot about, I'm like, fuck me. Like this dude just to give one example, he's got this system set up for all his biodegradable waste. So, and it literally mimics a cow's stomach. So it goes through all these 4 different processes to this giant bladder, like it's a waterbed sort of bladder. And then that's the gas from that. And then the methane gas from that they use to cook in the ovens in their house. Like there's all these and then every system creates something that does the water for that. I'm just like, and then even in like the last, why people I just like going off into this thought process. Like, why are the things that you know a lot about? Why does that interest you? Why do you want to know a lot about that stuff? Because I know why.
That's really weird to think about.
Because I know why. I know the things that I find passionate about. Why? And I figured this out in December last year. Observing a conversation between 2 friends.
So why do I?
Yeah. What because it usually aligns with like your value systems, right? Like,
yeah, right.
What you value in life. Because my highest value is helping people. So like all the information that I get excited about is something that I can share with people. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I could this helps me, but then it could help someone else.
Yeah, right. I've such a fucking, I don't know what to call it. I've got such a fast moving brain where I just need so much stimulation at every fucking point of the day. So like I'm always kind of just like trying to absorb information from fucking any topic. I don't give a fuck what it is.
Yeah.
Like my YouTube search history people would find it fucking. They'd think I'm a psychopath.
But that also too changes too, because like, you know, your value system is constantly sort of like they're in a flux.
It's always changing.
You know, so like I've always got like 4 or 5 audiobooks on the go, because like one, like, you know, for one week I'm like, I'm so deep in that one, and then all of a sudden like that I'm like, I don't feel that one. I don't want to retain it.
It also makes it a harder time to be alive because there's so much content. Like there's.
I would love to see your brain on when it's rested.
Oh, never rests.
No. I mean, actually slept.
Oh, slept. Yeah, fuck. Isn't there apps you can get on your phone? I can record it and send it to you.
Yeah, no. But like, all I'm just saying is because I know from our conversation that because you can't breathe through your nose for one,
not at all.
And the fact you wake up with a dry mouth tells me you're not sleeping properly.
I wake up not with the dry mouth. I wake up with blood sometimes in my mouth.
Yeah, that's so wild.
And I know because say I go train. Say I can do. I know I can push through 8 to 10 hard rounds on pads. Even as unfit as I am now, like just boxing on Muay Thai pads, I can push through at least like 8 really hard rounds, and I'll be good. And it makes me think, fuck, if I had like a working nose, I probably could I could fucking.
Have you looked into the surgery side of it?
No, I went once. I think it was pre-COVID, and this was when I was training heaps, and he was like, oh, he kind of was just nonchalant about it. So he was a bit older of a doctor, so I don't know if he fucking knew too much about it. I probably do need to go to a specialist though.
Yeah, 100%. ENT.
Because it fucking affects so much of your life. One of the boys from the gym got his nose done, and he's like, I can't even tell you how much better my life is.
That's what I'm telling. Like, this is why I'm sort of like expressing, because like when, you know, we talked about the, like, you know, being hangover, like, you only know, because I know, which is why I'm pretty passionate about getting people to sort their sleep out. Because I don't have a lot of sleep, but my sleep quality is good.
See, my sleep quality is terrible.
It's terrible, yeah.
And I get a little bit of it.
And like for me, what it was like from what I relate to what you are like now, is like black and white, man. Like I don't use an alarm clock.
You just wake up.
I just wake up.
See, I wake up. It's getting worse for me. So I used to be able to just wake up at 6:37, which is when I needed to wake up. But now I have to set an alarm. Oh, my body will always wake up at 8, but I wake up exhausted.
Yeah.
I wake up fucking knackered.
Yeah. And I wake up feeling good. But I also remember waking up going like,
it sucks. And then you like want to go back to bed, and then you have a nap and you feel like a piece of shit.
I actually did that today, honestly, for the first time.
Did you feel like a piece of shit?
This year, and because I fell asleep without my CPAP machine on.
Is it hard to sleep with?
Nah.
You get used to it.
Yeah, because my one just goes on my nose.
You wouldn't want to meet it. You'd have to. Do you have to sleep with it every night, or just if you don't, you fucking struggle?
So when I went back for the nap, I was like, I'm just gonna, like, because I got to bed a little bit later than usual, and I was like, I'm just gonna give my body a little what it feels like. Because I spoke to my best friend yesterday, and he just told me about how he was driving, and he just like felt into his body and goes, what does my body feel? And I was like, he goes, I'm fucking sick. Like, he's like, he really was like, I'm so tired and I'm sick, because he's so run down. And then
that's what I feel. I feel a constant state of fatigue.
Yeah, because it will be.
Yeah, but I've learned to deal with it, so I can just push through it. But I'm always fatigued. I'm always fatigued.
Like, I crashed my car driving so many times, falling asleep at the wheel.
No shit.
Yeah. And like that's when it, like, even then that wasn't even enough for me to sort it out. The thing which like made me sort it out, right, with my ex, like, you know, because I've had so much love for her, but it crushed me. No, it crushed me that we couldn't sleep in the same bed. Like 2 years into a relationship, we'd never sleep in the same bed
because of the snoring.
So I went in, had surgery, cut all the back of my throat out, and like my surgeon was his second to last surgery before he retired. And he said to me, he goes, I have never cut so much muscle out of someone's throat, and I still don't think I got enough. So I went through.
Is that just from how big your neck is?
Yeah, it was way bigger. I used to be way bigger, because I used to be way bigger.
That's fucking insane. If anyone, you can't tell on camera, but you'd be like 6'5", 6'6", and you built like a fucking brick shit house. I'm not joking when I say he was in Morphettvale for fucking 22 seconds. And one of my mates was zooming past with his fucking horn on, like, who is this cunt? But it's crazy that you used to be bigger. That would have been so unhealthy for you.
It was a lot on my heart, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah.
Obviously, steroid usage as well.
Yeah, so I stayed natural till I was 30. This is the first time I think I've spoken openly about this.
Are you pretty open with steroid use? Because people get really strange when you start talking about steroid
I'm not.
usage.
So this is why I'm like okay to talk about it, but like, because I was so passionate about being natural, and I competed in a steroid comp naturally, and I come second. So like I pushed natural very far. And
you obviously have fantastic genetics as well.
No, I put on, I think, like 40, 50 kilos. I was really scared. But I've come from a methamphetamine background. So, like, also come from a really what I call a fritter frame, because you're a fritter. Like, you frittered yourself. And then just, replace something for something else. But I was so anti-steroid users.
Yeah, right.
Because I was like, you guys are cheaters. And then something come on my radar, and I made the decision, I'll do it when I get through 30. Like, I know, like, your testosterone generally declines when you hit 30. So I made this, and I'll push it, because I know as soon as I would jump on the pin, that my desire to learn about healthy hormones would, subside, because I'm leaning on that. And then when I decided to make the move, I can sort of truthfully say I've never abused it. I've never gone over. I've always used the same amount of testosterone the whole time. I've never
So that's all you do, test?
No. I've cycled through other compounds.
Yeah.
I've used a couple of the harsh ones a couple of times, and my body fucking hated it, like real quickly.
Because there's some fucking putrid ones out there that are. Really
I've never used any of the oral stuff.
Yeah.
Oral stuff, because I've I had blood pressure issues anyway, just because of my weight and height, I believe. And steroids on top of that, already sort of just amplified it a little bit. So I do a lot of my heart, cardio and all that sort of stuff is around monitoring. I take my blood pressure nearly every day as soon as I wake up, just to keep on top of that. There's a few, I feel like probably the reason why I've never really lent into it, speaking about it publicly, is because young guys are super impressionable. And it's almost like to talk about it openly, and to guys that are just wanting the magic bullet. Because steroids aren't magic. They definitely weren't for me. They do keep a healthy baseline of testosterone. So you don't lose as much or as fast. You sort of bounce back a little bit quicker, but it was never something magical for me.
Because you see some fucking kids now at 17, 18, obviously on fucking massive amounts of gear. They're balding already at fucking 18.
Yeah.
They're 130 fucking kilos lean. It's what the fuck?
And that's where where I've sort of had a resistance to talking about it, because of anyone with if you've got influence, how are you using it? And it's never something I've wanted to portray. I'll never deny it, but I also back it up with I didn't touch it till I was 30.
Yeah. Did you ever catch wind of that bloke? What's his? I don't know his real name.
The Liver King.
Yes.
I never looked too much into it. I don't.
I think people's issue with him was he was pushing products and selling product.
Yeah, but if you're falling into that,
you're stupid. But he's got the ab action. The
thing is, you look at him, there's no way he's natural. So if you believe that he's natural and that his products are going to fucking get you to look like that, you're ignorant.
But it goes beyond being, because I'm pretty sure, or allegedly he's off the gear now, or off a lot of it, but he's still fucking massive.
There's no way he's off.
There's no way. But his abs,
distended gut,
they look like they're implants. They're that fucking.
So I've never lent into it, because it's
that's what I was going to talk about before with diet. Have you ever fucked with a full carnivore diet and seen how you felt and things like that to alter? Because apparently your diet obviously is really indicative of your mindset as well.
Well, if you look at so to me, diets are like a fucking religion as well. Especially if you're talking about people want to belong.
Ketogenic.
So I was too. I remember anyone that sort of used to disagree with me and my beliefs around how things should be done. Because I was a health coach for a few years, and then that's when I realized that I didn't understand enough about psychology or like human behaviors, because I was dealing with people that were pretty unhealthy. They come to a reason for me to feel better, and I'm giving them the information in an understandable way for them to go, this is why we need to change this, like physically. This is what you need to do to change it. And then I see them a week later and they're like, oh, I had a bad week. And I'm like, what don't I get here? I felt bad taking money from people. So it was like I went off, as well as like wanting to do it for myself. A lot of the influence honestly was to do with my past relationship, because she was so deep in introspective work. And there was a lot of like the fear of her outgrowing me. Either grow together or grow apart. So our relationship.
Did you just grow apart? Is that without delving too into it?
It's so fucking complex, man.
Yeah.
Like
was it like, do you still talk?
Yeah. I
oh, okay.
Today, yeah. But that's only very recent too.
Yeah.
Because I did a tantra course last weekend.
Yeah, you were saying. I'm sorry for laughing. I'm so sorry.
Well, the thing is too, like, you laugh because, like, what is your perception of tantra? You tell me right now. Go, what is tantra for you?
American Pie. Have you seen American Pie?
That's what Nick Pinfold said.
Have you seen it? Have you seen American Pie?
Yeah, not for a long time.
The fucking. So it was like last week. We were messaging because Ramp Champ Nick put us up together. Nick put us together. And shout out to Nick. And I messaged you, and you're like, oh, I can't do it this day because I got tantra training. And I was like, fuck, this cunt's a fucking different kind of dude. And I sent him a picture of so if anyone's seen American Pie, in number 2, they're at a retreat, and like the Finch fucks Stifler's mum.
Yeah.
But he goes into this retreat house, into her room, and he finds this book, and it's a tantra book. Yeah. So the whole trip he's like meditating and shit, so he can make himself come like 18 times in a sex session. But what is it? What
I can give an outline of the course, so like I still don't really understand it like completely. Even how to articulate what tantra is. I feel like
it's not just about sex though, is it?
Not at all.
No.
The last probably half or maybe a third of the second day of the course was about sexual intimacy stuff.
Yeah.
Sexual energy.
But mostly it's like meditative?
No, it's more like, so a lot of it was to do, there was a lot of things there was this one practice, right? This was the part that I felt super uncomfortable in. No, one of the many parts I felt super uncomfortable in. Actually.
I was going to say it wouldn't be.
But we're touching. I was really trying to be quick with this, but so you've got the masculine energy, healthy masculine, unhealthy masculine, dark, healthy masculine, unhealthy dark masculine, and then light, unhealthy light. So like you've got like real passive, but so. And we had to like, she would like, so there was I think it was 7 guys, maybe 11 women in this class. And so we'd all line up, like men on this side, females on the side. And then there was a strip in the middle. So, with this bit where we had to walk, and she would describe what energy that feels like in regards to like, unhealthy, dark masculine. And I could fall into that really easily. Like it was like this energy, how you're talking about, do you ever get fucked off at people? Like, like where I just want to fucking smash someone's fucking face in. Like, and I've been there. Like if I'm tired, I'm reactive, someone pisses me off, my ego takes over. Like,
you're still a human.
Yeah, fucking A.
Yeah, you're still a human.
And then like and I could fall into that energy. Like I've never consciously tried to put myself into it. Usually I'm trying to bring myself out of it. I'm like, come on, Lee, this is not who you want to be. This is not, I like to be that type of energy where I'm approachable, like I'm smiling, I'm open to talking to you, I can hear you. But then I've definitely been that fucking guy that you will avoid on the footpath if I'm walking towards you.
Fucking oath.
Like, no, but if I can put out that energy where I will like look you in the eye.
Oh yeah.
And like, you'll just be like, look down on the ground. And,
fucking oath. If you did that to me now, I would. Actually, you embody the big like
BFG.
What's that?
Big friendly giant.
Yeah, like no, just like they're like a big fucking teddy bear. Like I'm from the outside, terrifying, but like you're soft as fucking butter on the inside. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what Nick said as well. He's like, you wouldn't guess it, but he's like a fucking softie.
Yeah, big time.
It's crazy,
and I fucking love that. Like, you know, also,
it's good. It's better than being big and also a fucking cunt.
Yeah. And like, there's even that's got multifacets to it. Like, I will use it to my advantage in a positive way. So like, even if you're looking into male archetypes, right? So you've got king, warrior, magician, lover. So the king, you know, am I a healthy leader? Like am I like, you think of like a healthy king who works for his people, or the one that's a tyrant king, like, you know, like you're all beneath dictator. Me, you know, like you can all starve while I like roll here in gold. And then you've got the warrior, the healthy warrior, unhealthy warrior, and you've got the magician, which is knowledge. Like, you know, I can sit here and think that I'm better and give you snippets of stuff, or I will fucking go here. Like, going back to that love and expansion thing, like I want to give back what the world has given to me. Like I want everyone to like fucking open up the world so you can see the world through a better lens. Like, you know, so each day, if you're living like this and looking through your blind spot like this, how much
can you say?
Yeah.
Which is a trap and it's really easy to fall into that trap, because you wake up, you go to your job, you come home, you like just fall into these traps where fucking you just have these on your blinders on the whole, like, and then 30 years go.
Yeah. And also what I was trying to really sort of embody in that with the blinkers on is that, you know, you're not seeing the world, bro.
Yeah, nothing, and it's just because.
And like, but the thing is, like, I'm looking at your actions. Like, so we were in the smoker hut the other day, and the boys come back from we were working next to Pasadena Food Lane. The boys come back from lunch, and there was a piano apparently, like in the Pasadena Food Lane, and they were talking about this old boy that works in the bakery, and how there was this little kid just went up on the piano, which is like open for anyone to play, and he's like ding ding, just like smashing it, and they were looking at this old boy who was just scorning this little child for like hitting the keys, and they were like, you know, come back and saying, fucking ease up, mate. Like, you know, I don't know if they actually said anything to him, but I like my response to what they were talking about, I was like, have love and compassion for that guy, because like, can you imagine if that's something that upsets you?
Yeah, it's so true.
What's that guy's internal state of mind like?
Dude, we have a fish and chip shop. We have people that come in and will fucking scream over like putting the wrong salt on their food. And I'll get baffled by it. I'm like, how shit's your life?
Yeah.
Like, to the point where you're scolding a 14-year-old woman, like a girl.
That's a service.
A service.
You've come in and I'm
doing
your fucking favor.
And you've only spent $8.
Yeah.
And you think you have any form of fucking tyranny to like, and it's crazy. But we're lucky enough to we're busy now, so we can tell people to fuck off.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy how like people, like it's crazy how people think when they give you X amount of dollars that they're entitled and they own you, kind of thing. It's fucking insane. And you just got to think, how bad's that cunt's life?
And like that's what I mean. Like, you know, that's why
they could have had a horrible day.
Like that tattooed there.
Yeah, that's sick.
Like trust and love. Like, you know, trust that everything's happening for a reason. Like, it's, even though when you're in the thick of it, like, this is, you know, woe me, this is happening to me, where it's actually happening for you, because like when you're in the thick of the shit, you can't see. Like, there was all the things which have happened to me in my life that were so hard, I wouldn't give them up for the world.
Like I was saying before, like if you grew up in functional household with 2 parents and this and that, you wouldn't be the same person you are now.
No, not at all.
You'd probably just be a 9-to-5er.
Yeah.
Like just...
And like I come to that conclusion with the path of like trying to forgive my dad.
Every single person that was great came from some sort of fucking weird situation.
Yeah.
Everyone. Not a single fucking person.
Yeah.
Unless you were born into money.
Like the flat seas never makes a great sealer.
It's true, and it does, and it's not a good story.
No.
And the world's just a big story.
Yeah.
Like you just got to think this whole timeline. It's all a story.
And the thing is, like, you choose the narrative. Like, this is something that I've learned through unhealthy methods, but then like developed it into a healthy way of using it, like internalizing the story. So like something happens, right? And this is quite like common, really, a bit more amplified with men, but where, you know, you do that, say, let's just say example, you do this, and it instigates me to feel a certain way. And then I literally make an assumption why you've done that. Like, you've done that because you really want to fucking do it. Like, it's controlling the narrative. Like, so if I really dissect and I pull apart the things that I know which are 100% true, objectively true, remove my story. Okay, I know that that's true and that's true. I can literally create another story which is as true as the one that upsets me, that actually doesn't upset me, just off the facts I have. Because we create stories.
Yeah, fuck. That's such a mind fuck.
Yeah. So if, like, you know, when someone does something that upsets
I just
you,
fucking went into like a zone just then, keeping up with that.
Well, it's like if I'll go through it again, but if someone does something that upsets you,
yes,
you really do. So you pull apart the parts that you know are 100% objectively true. Like, you know, there's
the constructive criticism.
On paper, they are truth. Like, so there's your truth, my truth, and the truth in the middle. The things which, like, on paper, undeniably true. So if you grab the objective truths, and then okay, cool, and then I look at the story that I've created around these objective truths, and then I'm like, okay, cool. So how easy is it for me to create another story that's as true as the story I've created, but that doesn't mean that I don't feel bad. And it's like, sometimes it's really hard. I'm like, no, I just want to feel shit.
So, and do you know what? That's a really weird thing that you say, because sometimes I actually just want to feel like shit.
Yeah.
Some days I'll wake up and it's like, fuck, I want to be in a bad mood today.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then I'll go, and then someone will try and, like, someone will do something and it'll be funny, but you won't laugh.
Yeah.
Because you want to feel like shit. Like, it's self-punishment.
Yeah. But then, like, to add to that, like, and it's hard, like, some days I'm just foul, and even if I'm foul, I'll still apologize for being foul. Like, you know, if I can have awareness around my foulness, but I can't change it, I'll apologize to the people around me. I'm sorry, I'm foul.
Yeah.
I can't do anything about it right now. Like, don't take it personally, because it's like ripple effect. You know, my beautiful friend, like, I don't know if she'll ever listen to this, her name's Sophia, and she has the most fascinating relationship with her children. Like, her 16-year-old daughter sat ayahuasca with us in December because her children are the most emotionally intelligent, like, the most, like...
What a cool way to bring up your fucking kids.
Her kids are fucking, like, out of the world, man. Like, every now and then...
And anyone who comments on this saying that's fucking child abuse or whatever, you have no idea.
This lady, the way she's raised her children is profound. Like, her daughter, Electra, the one that sat with us, she doesn't speak a lot, but when she chimes into the conversation, it's full, like, mic drop moment.
Fuck.
You're just like, I'll just be like, how the fuck did a 16-year-old just say that? Like, she is...
So do you have shaman? Is there? Is it always the same one?
Yep, always. Yeah.
Would they do a podcast?
She lives in Bali.
Oh, really? Does she flies down?
She flies here for the ceremonies, yeah.
No shit. That'd be awesome to chat with a shaman.
I literally... So this is... Her energy is so intense. I've never had a conversation with her.
What's her name?
Nanda. And
she... does she hold ceremonies in Bali as well?
I don't know.
That'd be fucking awesome to do in Bali because of the terrain.
See,
have you been overseas and done any? Like in...
No, I've only sat with this one.
Yeah, right.
And, like, so next year, my plan for my 40th is to
You got to go to the Amazon.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
going to be a different. That's going to be. Is that like the grand finale? Not the grand finale, but like the.
That's so I've definitely got a couple of people which are like 100%ers, but it's kind of like open to anyone in my close friendship group that want to come, that are called to come. I'm not going to force anyone to come.
On the. Is it expensive to do that?
Here or there?
There. Because we were looking.
I think all up you'd probably, as a really really rough ballpark, I'd say if you were just going for that and coming
Sole
back,
purpose, no
going there,
holiday.
no holiday outside of like on each end of it, you'd probably with the flights be looking between 10 and 15 grand.
It's not bad.
Well,
That's not bad.
The 4 that I'm doing next week are like 3.5.
We're going to like on holiday to Japan in July. 2 weeks. That's going to cost us 15 grand, and we're not going to come back enlightened. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but you've also got like an experience which puts a massive like.
It's a different, and
it breaks up the year.
And I feel like being closer to the source of where it was all kind of originated from, and being in that environment in the Amazon, in like the biggest fucking ecosystem in the world, I think it would just be heaps more amplified. You know what I mean? It would be more amplified.
Because like I know from my, I guess, little experience, like because I only used the one shaman for all of mine, and there was this one sort of moment where in one of the retreats where I was like, I wasn't questioning her ability at all, because when you watch her in the medicine journey, it's like, it is so profound. Like it is one of these. I've got this one story about my best friend I would love to share.
So you've never, you've never talked to her personally.
I can't. She it's kind of like the whole
intimidate
like, I'm not worthy. Yeah. She comes, how are you, Lee? And I'm like, I'm good, thank you. Because her energy is so profound.
Yeah. But continue.
Yeah, and then there was this guy who actually flew down from Queensland to sit with us, and he goes, I guess he'd sat 130 ayahuascas, multiple shamans, and he goes, she's the best one I've ever sat with.
No shit.
So I was like, oh, cool. Like,
how much does it cost to do a ceremony in Adelaide?
I think around between 800-900 per ceremony.
And that's one day?
That's for one ceremony.
And then you can... So the one you're doing on the 6th is...
I'm doing 4.
4 consecutive.
Yeah, so there's actually 2 2-day retreats,
okay.
And I'm just doing both.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's fun. And does it include like food, everything?
Yeah, food, accommodation, everything, yeah.
Do you, when you go there, do you dress plain? All white.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah. It's so, man, I fucking love it.
You're excited.
I just love, it's such a magical
It's like
experience.
your Shangri-La.
So
it's like fucking...
In my last 2 that I sat, when I got my best friend, he lives here now, he's moved here but from December, like he moved here a couple of months ago, but I got him over here to sit with me, and it was probably some of the weaker medicine I've had, but like it was so magical having him there.
It's just cool.
Every time I try and talk about him, I get emotional, but because I love him so much. But like I was saying, his mum passed when he got here over here a few years ago, and I've never someone who was so close to their mum, like literally, like ride or die is his words with his mum's relationship. When she passed, I'd never seen someone deal with their parents' relationship death so like, wow, that was that close because of his belief with his religion of life after death. His mum's words were like, I'll see you again. And he believes that. And then when she passed, he becomes spiritually connected with her. Like, so he never felt like he lost her. He spiritually bypassed grieving her death. This is what had come through in his... So we were driving up there, right? Just literally going up Tapley's Hill Road Hill. I'm talking, we're in a conversation. I'm talking, and then he just breaks down crying. Big Maori boy. Just breaks down crying. And I'm like, do I need to fucking pull over, bro? Like if it's like is it something I've said? And he literally can't even get any words out. And then he goes, my mum's just come through to me. And I was just like, and she goes, I'll be by your side the whole time. Like, and then she said, she goes, thank Lee for me. And then we were I think it might have been the second day, and like, so I was outside towards the end. The medicine was really just like on its way end out for me, and I was overlooking the ocean. And then he comes out and he sat next to me, and we had a hug and told each other we love each other. And he was like, man, my mum was beside me the whole time. Like I could see her spirit. And he goes, there was this one period where like her spirit put her hand here, and he goes, I wanted to feel like her physical touch, like so badly, because like, you know, he could, but then within like, I don't know, like 20 seconds after her spirit putting a hand there, the shaman put her hand exactly where her mum had.
No shit, it's crazy.
And then we sat down for dinner, and he hadn't said anything to her about the experience, but he goes, I just really want to thank you for putting your hand there. And she goes, I was sitting there. That's what he said. And she goes, many people's ancestors and spirit guides were coming and going. She goes, but your mum stayed beside you the whole time.
That's fucking crazy. That's beautiful though. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's great. I have a real weird fucking relationship with death. I don't know. One of my best mates, Will Wiramu, he was a Maori boy.
It's James.
James.
I'm pretty sure. Wiramu.
Yeah, so
I might be wrong.
we used to fucking get on it hard. We were like thick as thieves, me, him and one of my mates, Chris. And he was always really smart, but like freakishly smart. Like fucking genius.
Yeah.
He was going to university to study to be a psychologist, but he was like a photographic memory, like a freak.
Yeah, on the spectrum a bit.
Like a fucking 100%. But he knew he was.
Yeah.
And he killed himself. Oh. Yeah, but I wasn't even sad. I knew it was going to happen. Like, he tried to do it once from a drug-induced psychosis. We had a massive bender, and we all went to work, and he tried to take a downer to fucking go to sleep. Drug-induced psychosis, slashed his throat, jumped out of a window. He had a broken femur bone at this point. He was recovering from breaking his femur bone in half. Mm. He mustered up the strength to scale a 2.5 metre fence and get the neighbours' kids to fucking call an ambo for him. And he didn't remember any of it. But he moved to Sydney to do like unsavoury fucking things, like I imagine it was drug dealing. But he went over there, and I said to my mate Chris, I was like, in 2 months minimum, he'll be dead. Mm. So like I knew it was going to happen. But yeah, he fucking jumped off his balcony, and I never grieved for him. Mm. It was his 5 years the other day, and I just never grieved. I always was more angry at him more than anything.
Well, that's a part of the grief too.
Yeah.
Grief has like multiple waves of emotion.
Yeah, I was never upset about it though. I'm upset that I won't see him.
Yeah.
But I was never...
It's still grief.
Yeah. And then there's my mate George, who passed away young, George Adams.
Grief isn't specific to like sorrow.
Yeah. Well, that's my grieving process anyway.
Yeah. If you Google the waves of emotion of grief, there's like multiple different emotions.
Yeah, I never seem to get really upset with it though. I don't know why. The
thing is, like from what I've learnt through our conversation so far, is that you were never taught how to express certain emotions.
Yeah, one of them is fucking being upset. Yeah. I can tell you that. Yeah. But it's also a detriment, but it's also benefited me so much in certain aspects of life.
Well, the thing is, up until now, like you can always say up until now, but like moving forward, does it serve you anymore? Like you can always reflect back, but the past doesn't predict the future either. Like you can't say that because it has served you till now, it's going to keep serving you, especially if you're having meltdowns. Yeah. And if it ain't, like, you got to get rid of that mentality, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. Yeah, 100%. Like, and it's just coping mechanisms, they serve purposes, but not forever. Like, whatever has helped you cope with the past from past conditioning may have got you to the point now, but that's why the ego, the unconscious, wherever you want to look at it, doesn't like change, because change to the brain, the primitive brain, could mean death. That's how simple. Anything outside of familiar is why it's scary. Is why we stay in our comfort zone, even though our comfort zone is fucking uncomfortable. Like, because it's familiar, because it's safe, and like. But if you bring things into awareness, like right now in this conversation, you've now got awareness that you don't. It sounds like you already had it.
I think I'm aware. I think I'm aware of all of my problems. I just choose not to. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not oblivious to them.
There's also too, like, there's the problem, but like, you know, how do you know how to deal with it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, you know, who do I trust? Who do I go to? How do I even break through this conditioning?
Yeah. It's a weird, and there's never been more resources in the world.
That's the fucked thing, because it's like, you know, when you go on Uber Eats to choose dinner, it's like, I'm so overwhelmed.
Yeah, so it's hard. It's like someone's like, oh, take CBD oil. No, microdose mushrooms. Go to therapy. Go to this therapy. There's no like clear. It's almost there's too many options now.
100%.
And mental health's also become such a fucking huge buzzword that people use it for profitable gain, as you do with any buzzword. I've rejected 2 or 3 people from coming on the podcast politely because
they were means to an end.
But it's because they're mental health advocates. Yeah. But I also know that they're pieces of shit. Yeah, like it's a front. There is a certain sector of men that'll lean into mental health because it thinks it rids them of the fucking piece of shit they are.
No, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I got people come to my mind straight away. But
yeah, like, and it's like I'm not, and this podcast generally, like, we're having a natural conversation now, and it's leaned towards that. I would never be able to sit down with someone and talk to them about mental health. Yeah, because you even know from talking to me for fucking 2 hours, I'm not a professional on it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I've always had that. Like. Not the hatred. Like, for me, mental health has like a stigma. Because I correlate it to these dudes that I know that lean on it because they're pieces of shit, and they have this crew now that can back them up. Yeah. Like, it's like a cult. It's also like a religion. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
As soon as anything gets popular enough, they turn it into a religion.
It's a fad.
Fuck it.
And the thing is, this cycle. It's the polarity of it too. Because it's like there's the negative emotions that you're speaking of that I feel too, that, you know, you can see, when you can see it, you can see the people that are incongruent with the message that they're speaking. Like, it's not genuine. It's like you can see that this is a means to an end for them, where there's also the part of me, this is why I like speaking through parts, there's also the part of me that just loves that mental health is picking up traction. Yeah. You know, and it's like CBD.
By the way, I'm not saying that fucking mental health movement isn't good.
And that's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying there is fucking outliers in that group that are pieces of shit.
And this is what it's also like, where it's also kind of cool to speak through parts of ourselves. Because there's a part of you that feels that way. Yes. There's a part of you which feels that way.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, you know, if I speak to you and go, look, a part of me feels this way. Yeah. A part of me feels this way. It's easier for you to hear because, like, me, it's up here, but then there's all these subparts of me that feel these things. And it's like, it's easier for you to listen if I'm only speaking through, if I'm specifically saying, there's just a part of me which is really fucked off with you right now. Like, you know, part of me might know why you've done that. Part of me forgives you, but there's still a part of me which is fucking angry.
That is, you do not want to be sitting across from a table from you and being like, a part of me wants to punch you in the face right now.
Well, it's just easy. I don't know. I really love communication, like healthy communication.
Yeah, you know, obviously growing up in fucking ethnic, like with hardcore ethnic value households, there's not much emotional talk.
Yeah. So you are, can I ask? Cause like,
Greek.
Okay. Yeah, I've only had dinner with one Greek family, and I was just like, "Fuck, I'm never doing this again."
So
And
yelling.
This is not like it was. No,
No, we're very loud and very abrasive people.
Yeah.
So when I met my missus, her family was so quiet.
Is she Greek?
No, Australian.
Okay.
But their family's so quiet and they speak to each other so politely. Whereas, like, my dad would be like, "Oi, go get me," like, and I'd be like, "All right, that's normal."
Yeah,
but that's how I talk too. So even when I'm talking to people, it sounds like I'm yelling.
Yeah.
But I'm not. And that's just how my conditioning. And my missus is always like, "Fuck, you need to calm down." And I'm like, I'm just asking you, like, I'll say, "Oi, can
It's
you
a
get..."
culture shock.
Yeah, it's just different. And it's like you said, but Greek people are very abrasive.
Well, I sat there and I was just like...
And we scream.
So I shout out to my friend Tony, actually, because it's her partner, James. But we were talking about it recently, like real recently, actually, and I was just talking about how that experience was for me. And she goes, "Oh, actually, I spoke to even him about it, her husband." And he goes, "No, like, because I felt like at the end of that dinner, because I ended up chiming in, like, you know, because I'm like, I've got an opinion on this, so like I chimed in, and I'm like, I felt like everyone hated me, and they're like, no, that's like that is what it is.
It's normal.
It's normal.
Yeah,
like, you know, it's just how that dinner rolls, and I'm like, that I've been holding on to a lot of weird feelings around that dinner for a long time."
You went to a Greek dinner and
because I was there to install there, like, just there, she was one of my my best friends, and we did breathwork training together. So like we know each other really. But she goes, "Oh, can you bring around your tools and install a doggy door for me?" And then as I was finishing it, she's like, "Do you want to stay for dinner?" I was like, so I thought it was going to be her husband, her, and her mum. And then I was like, "Yeah, okay." And then
the whole fucking family rocked
Then all
up.
of a sudden the door opens and fucking people start walking in, and I was like, "Oh man, what the fuck?" Like,
oh dude, you'd have a field day if you came to my family. Is the most stereotypical fucking Greek family there is. Like, they could make a movie on it. I got like 120 fucking first cousins.
yeah,
Like, fucking everyone's pretty close. Like, but everyone's screaming at each other. The food's good. Like, everyone fucking drinks too much. like they could make a show about my family, but that's just normal. Like, I don't know about other cultures, but Greek culture is very abrasive.
Do you know what's real funny? So like this is how ignorant I was around, like, I don't know what. So let's just say the word WOGs, right? And I know that's actually an acronym for something. Like, it's
that doesn't offend me at all.
No. But apparently it stands for Workers on Government something. That's what it stands for.
I'm pretty sure it was because of the term gollywog.
No, but that's,
Was it?
if you Google acronym for WOGs, it's Workers on Government something. So because that's what,
Like the allowance.
something I don't think it's derogatory in any way, but it was like that's what the term WOGs, from what my knowledge anyway. I could be completely wrong, but like, when someone told me and I grew anyway. But before I moved to Australia, right, I remember when I was...
There are not many wogs in New Zealand.
Yeah, we'll get to this. You see how ignorant I was. I was contemplating where in Australia I wanted to move to. And I was like, oh, maybe Brisbane. And someone said, oh, don't go to Brisbane. There's heaps of wogs there. And so back then, I thought wog was an Aboriginal. That's how there's
Really?
no I mean, there might be wogs in New Zealand, but like it's not a thing like it is here. It's like I literally thought wog was an Aboriginal.
That's the fucking craziest shit I've ever
And
heard.
like, even on the Aboriginal subject, when I moved here, because I have no conditioning around Aboriginals, to me they're just humans.
Yeah.
And and then I come over here and I learn more about the history. So like I have
It's a nasty fucking history.
no negative emotion towards them, like solely more just compassion and love. And it's profound for me seeing some of the fucking like the negative.
That would be a cool experience going, because I imagine I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know ceremonies of what they do, but the Aboriginal culture, I imagine they would have some form of fucking ceremonies, like where you would see like visions.
They are some of the most connected people to this planet and this earth, man. Like because
they got the direct line from fucking a million years ago. Like they were here.
I listen to it. Like, I mean, I peel through generally. Like, if I'm depending on work and like because I run jobs, so and how much I can. My earphones usually never leave my ears, so sometimes I can.
I used to be like that, but it got to a point where I had to like literally for 5-6 years. When AirPods came out, my AirPods, I always had a left one in everywhere.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I was getting like too much of it. This is when I found podcasts.
Yeah.
And
so I've got 2 sets in case one goes flat.
Oh, bro, it's such but it just gets you through the day. Like, and you can absorb so much information. But sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, no, you're all good, man. It's just like how much in so many books or podcasts Aboriginals get acknowledged. Like,
yeah, they're
so much, man. Like they're just.
Are they the first?
I don't know.
They're one of the oldest like communities.
Yeah,
ever.
It was just like, yeah, just going back to coming over here, and it was just like, I'm just gonna like segue into this other experience. So when the COVID thing happened, right, and there was this like mad like fear and social distancing. Like, I think I might have wore a mask twice. That whole fucking facade, that whole fiasco circus. I just refused to wear one. I'm like, they don't do anything. I'm not going to fucking fall into this trap.
I guarantee you, none of my listeners give a fuck about COVID.
Yeah. But I remember this one experience. I was in Glenelg and I was walking up to Coles, and there was this older lady walking towards me, and then she literally pivoted like
because you weren't wearing a mask.
No, 2-3 meters minimum to the right, so we didn't walk opposing. It wasn't in good. We're outside, and like that feeling, like it felt like the full rejection. Like, why doesn't she even want to be near me?
It was like that girl in fucking year 7 all over again.
Yeah, it was just, but then I like, and then because I lived in Glenelg for like 5 years, and in summer we'd always have like groups of Aboriginals would come down because they'd be near the water, and like because I like would always be out in the open, and I just watch people avoid them.
Yeah,
and like that was always uncomfortable for me. But then to experience that, and feeling someone literally go out of their way to not walk anywhere near me, like fucking hurt my soul.
Yeah.
And I was like, these people are so, they live that day to day, man. And I'm just like, man, I just fucking, like, you can get a homeless guy, right, off the street, like a white fella, and give him a haircut, brush his teeth, put him in a suit. Like, it will instantly change someone's perspective of them. But like so many people in Australia, if you were to pull an Aboriginal off the street, give them a haircut, put them in a nice...
They still have that stigma.
They still conditioning.
Yeah, no shit. I've never thought about it like that.
And that is
crazy.
Like so... Like, I don't know. It's just because I'm not from here and I don't have any conditioning around them. Like I said, like I literally thought a wog was an Aboriginal before I moved here. And then to come here with none of that conditioning. Obviously, I've got my conditioning around Māori in New Zealand. And like, I feel like that's a way totally different subject. But like to come here,
that would be totally different, wouldn't it?
Yeah, with no judgment of Aboriginals to come over here and then just to see how they're fucking like treated, man, it hurts my fucking soul.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. I've always also been very big on like in my life, if I don't know much about it and if it doesn't affect me, I don't chime in at all.
Yeah.
Like, I just fucking stay in my lane.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things. I'd love to know more about it, but I just stay in my fucking lane because that's a very touchy, like, that's a very slippery slope.
And this circles back to that question I had from you, like, when I was saying people know a lot about what they know a lot about. And it's like, I know very little about it because even if I was to know more about it, this is almost probably not completely true, but like my sole purpose in this life is to help people. Like that is what fucking makes me feel good, is if I can feel like I've helped someone. That is my top value in life. So the information, what I'm interested in, is stuff which helps me that I can help people with, and And I witnessed this when we're in ayahuasca, and I've got my best friend, another good friend who sat, and like, I always wondered like why because they're way better friends. Like I'm friends with this guy because my best friend is really good friends with him. So I'm like, well, if he's good, like, you know, if he thinks he's good, then I'm, you know, he's good, because I trust his judgment more than probably my own sometimes. And then, but it was interesting to me, like, where I was like, why are they so close? And then I watched them speak the first time I'd ever seen them interact, because I'd only ever spoke to them individually, and they were into like quantum physics and all this shit. I'm like, oh, you guys like that shit.
Yeah, you have like that connection.
I'm like, I'd say like that stuff's interesting, but I don't give a fuck about it. Like, I just don't. And that's where I learned. I'm like, why don't I give a fuck about that? And I'm like, because I can't fucking help people with quantum physics.
Do you have like any other, how much of your life does this consume? Do you have like an interest in sports? Do you have time for an interest in sports or like other things? Or does this kind of journey consume your whole fucking life?
Consumes my whole life.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
It's not the worst fucking thing. Like,
No. I love it because so it would have shifted a lot now because I'm not in a relationship anymore. But when I worked with this coach, and it was like 90 minutes of really in-depth questions, and she's just writing down all the answers, and then we compile all the answers into 4 categories basically, and they are my value system. And at the time, my top value still is helping people. My second highest value in life was my relationship, and I think it still is there because like I still listen to relationship books and books about love, because that is important for me. Whoever that, you know, I end up being with, like, that is so important for me to have a healthy relationship for the rest of my life. My third highest value is my personal greatness. So like I named all these value systems, but was so me physically being better, me and my mental state. And then my fourth highest value is connecting with people. I love conversing with people, but then learning why mine are the way they are, and then realizing that your value system is completely different to mine, which will completely understand. Like, what time are we at?
2:15.
Oh, I thought it would have been longer than that.
2 hours 15.
When do you want to cut it off?
Oh no, whenever. They just finish when they finish.
I think I could probably go for fucking 6 hours. I fucking like talking, sorry.
No, they just finish when they finish.
When I tore this bicep off at work, and I rang. This is just.
Have you torn both?
Yeah, both off.
Fuck.
And both at work too.
Not weightlifting. Is that what that scar's from?
Yeah. So
that's fucking gnarly. I would not want to see that fucking bicep detach. I see videos of biceps detaching, and it's the grossest shit in the world.
And that was that one. That was the first one.
How long apart?
Year and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Freak accidents. What happened?
Just I'm not very good. I'm really bad at asking for help.
So you too much.
Yeah,
like,
at work. Like,
yeah.
No, like I like. So it's this. Oh man, this is another big thing. But the part of me which doesn't know how to ask for help, but is also quite funny because I love helping people. But I don't.
I'd rather fucking die than ask for help sometimes.
Yeah. But so I discovered this in therapy recently too, because like when we went into this part of me, so like in my therapy, like sometimes we'll have like 2 or 3 different chairs set up, and they're all different parts of me, and I jump into that part and I speak through that part.
No shit.
Yeah, it's wild, man, because you can really feel that part, like feel.
You like embrace that.
Yeah, and I can speak to that other part.
Oh shit.
And so when there was this part of me sitting next to me, like, you know, she goes, look at him. And I'm like looking at him, and she goes, this is the part of me which doesn't know how to ask for help. And she goes, what do you want to say to that part? And as soon as I looked at him, I was like, fucking thank you. Because that part of me is what makes me good at my job.
Yeah.
Because like that part of me, which is a problem solver, because I will always find a way to do it.
Yeah, no matter what.
No matter what, I will always find a way. And that way that fires that part of my brain up. I look at something, I'm like, how the fuck can I do that?
But that also led...
But that stems from a childhood wound.
Yeah, right. Because you didn't have the help there from your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit, it's a circle.
100%. Brick on trail always leads back to him.
Yeah, fuck. But that also, your biggest pro in work also led you to fucking ripping off your bicep.
Hard lesson to learn twice.
Pardon?
It's a hard lesson to learn twice.
Fucking hell, man. So when that sound would have been fucking...
Oh, it was gross feeling. Because that one there...
Because it rolls up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it goes... Oh, it just goes... And just wiggles. So that like insertion...
What's the pain like with that?
It's the post-surgery is what hurts the most.
Really? So that there isn't the worst part?
Nah, the post-surgery is way worse. Like even now though, doing that hurts.
How long ago was your last surgery?
December last year.
Like your arm's still fucking massive though, considering.
Oh no, because I can train now.
Yeah, right.
But in a lot of pain.
Yeah, right. How much smaller did it get? Was it?
Yeah, skinny as. Like I said, I dropped down to 105. I'm 122 now, so I've put 17 kilo back on.
Fuck. No shit. That would have been horrible. That's what I always see injuries of like short videos of people ripping their biceps off while they're lifting, and it looks like the worst injury.
Yeah, they do it. That was the difference between that. See, that one's got 2 scars, and that one's only got.
Oh no, you're all good. This table's copped a belting.
That one's only got 1 because that one was under less weight. So this one I was lifting something that was 90 kilos.
Yeah.
So it retracted up further.
No shit.
So two different injuries, but it's not. I don't know. Like I've got that tattooed there. It's like says you can't change it. If you can't change it, don't.
That's sick.
Don't put too much energy.
Do you have a lot of like? I've seen you got another one there too. Yeah.
That one is. It's called the Ho'oponopono prayer. So like, thank you, forgive me, I love you. So it's like, it's just a reflection thing. So like, let's just say a really basic example is, if you lie to me, right, and I get upset with you because you lied at me, I've got to ask myself, have I ever lied?
Yeah, right.
Because generally anger is projected guilt from when you've done something similar. So like I go, thank you. I won't say it to you like verbally, but I go, thank you for showing something inside me. Forgive me for judging you, and I love you. And that is supposed to forgive the guilt that I'm projecting out as anger towards you.
One sec. I'm just going to go get one of those wet wipes. Oh, fuck. Bang. Oh, fuck. One thing I wanted to actually ask you, because I think it would be really interesting coming from you, because you kind of embody someone who's fucking extremely masculine, obviously, physically. But mentally, you're really, like, mellowed and kind of...
I just feel balanced.
You're very balanced. What do you think about the current thing between, like, toxic masculinity? Do you think there's a time and a place for men to be masculine?
I think,
like, you know, obviously Andrew Tate's fucking on one extreme of that. And then you have, like, obviously the woke movement, which is on the other extreme of that.
I don't know anything about the woke. I know a little bit about Tate. I think Tate, some of the stuff Tate says is pretty fucking powerful. Some of it is very...
It's supposed to be shared, so like, I think he hams it up a little bit. I
think so. He's got some real valid points in some of the stuff he says. And the thing is, like, if it rubs you up the wrong way, articulate why does it rub you up the wrong way? That's the question. When you say toxic masculinity, for me that is like a fucking really broad brushstroke of describing things. It's like saying that person is a narcissist. Like, proper narcissists are so fucking rare. Like, because psychologically, an actual narcissist is unhelpable. Like, they are literally untreatable through psychological methods. So
really?
People can have narcissistic traits.
Shit.
People can have narcissistic traits, you know, but if you look at what a proper narcissist is, like, you're fucked. Like, they are unhelpable because they believe like the own shit.
A narcissist basically will just...
I can't describe one. They're
so fucking out of tune.
I just remember it was years ago when I read one, and like it was like my past relationship was like a beautiful, hard journey. In the really early years when it was really hard, she said to me once, she goes, oh, you're a narcissist. And like an off the cuff comment, like through in a heated moment. And like I remember, and I just went and Googled what it was. And I was like, fucking do not ever call me that again. Because like back then I thought narcissist was like, arrogant or fucking cocky or whatever. But like it's actually really pretty. But there was I definitely 120% had narcissistic traits at that time of my life. But the toxic masculinity, in my opinion, it's boy masculinity. Like, it's mean that man has not been transitioned into a healthy male for whatever methods, whether it's from a wounded mother or an absent father or just passing down from his father to him. Like, it's just, he hasn't been... If you look, I can only speak on this like because I've just finishing a book on male archetypes, and it talks about in the beginning about this boy masculinity where man has been transitioned. So you've got all these traditions, and sort of ancient groups of people around the world where like you say in this tribe, in this jungle, the boy as a teenager gets pushed out into the jungle. Do not come back until you've killed a bear. Or they speak about one where they chuck the teenage boy into a fire pit of ants, and he's like literally just screaming with these, getting stung by these ants, gets close to death. All the men pull him out of the fire pit of ants, they take him into the water, they wash the ants off him, and they go, the boy is dead, a man is born. So there's all these like, and I think if you look at what a healthy man is, a man is just grounded in his own emotion, and he can hold. He's just, it's not patriarchal. Like, I don't know.
It's a hard one.
It is, and like because I'm in
the world's almost fucking built off of really fucking
patriarchal,
hard men,
like patriarchal, men. Like really hard where they're suppressing the female, and like. And I don't know if it needs to, but it seems like it probably will, where the matriarchal will, like, it's like at the moment you've got the feminist, this is in my opinion, and like take it with a grain of salt, but you've got the feminist movement isn't actually fucking helping, in my opinion, because you've got, what we really need is this, but like thing is you've got these men which are like suppressing women, you've got women which are trying to suppress men, but we actually fucking just need to fucking
there's
lift
also
each other up.
What social media doesn't show as well is there's actually the majority of people are in the middle of everything.
Well, I feel like they're confused as well. Like men today don't know how to be men because you've got a lot of women which are stuck in their masculine. In a relationship, you cannot have both. You cannot have a woman that's in her masculine and have a man in his masculine. If she's stuck in her masculine, he's going to get forced into his feminine, and it fucks with the erotic friction in the relationship. So like, and I learned this is just speaking through my past experience from my, like in periods of my past relationship where my partner was like just in her masculine, and like you cannot choose to be in your masculine if she stays in her masculine. And like if you look,
by in masculine, what do you mean?
It's an energy, not them being a man and woman. It's just the energy of the relationship. Like men, if you're really like
more dominant,
you're dominant or decisive, or there's basic characteristics between male and female. Like woman is like do, achiever. Like masculine energy is like linear, like fall back, achieve, get shit done. Where woman is like in the flow, like and then I really don't have the best way to articulate it because I'm in the process of, I've just finished a course on masculine and feminine energy, and I'm just like,
you did a course on it?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
You fucking just on a full self-bettering fucking journey.
Yeah. Well,
is there like an end goal? Do you want to do like, is this for like, can you do this as like a work, like almost?
Well, the end goal is to get to a point where I live in a place of service. Like I'm not on the tools. I don't want to fucking bullshit. Like I want to wake up every day and know I'm going to help people. That's my end goal.
Shaman.
No, not a shaman. Definitely don't. Just like a title. Like
I would love to know what the process of becoming a shaman would fucking be, because that would be crazy.
Depends what shaman you're talking about too. So like there's shamans that don't necessarily work with any specific medicine. They're just a shaman with whatever healing modality they work in.
I'm talking like a full fucking Amazonian.
Yeah. So my shaman, first time she sat ayahuasca when she was 17, that's what the medicine told her.
That she was going to be a shaman.
Yeah.
Fuck. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's such a fucking...
I'm excited for you to go to fucking the Amazon. We're looking, because we're going to Japan this year. Next year I was like, I would love to do the Amazon River. But it's fucking daunting, like, looking into it. It's like, fuck, you got to take 600 injections. It's like
for malaria
and all that, and then you're probably still going to get malaria.
Well, see, I don't know. So like my ex-partner a few years ago, I don't know, like just like 3 or 4 years ago, she just, I can't remember exactly, but I remember her saying, might have come to her in a dream or something, but she just got this instant urge. She's like, I'm going to South America. And she's like, do you want to come? I was like, no.
Really?
Yeah, well, she wanted to do the Inca Trail.
Ah.
And I just had there was like, I actually had no desire. My desire, I would have loved to have done it with her, but like financially at that time,
it was not feasible.
Not that quickly.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm going in a month. Do you want to come?
Oh, wow. That's fucking... Yeah, that's a leap of faith.
I know it was really quick.
Yeah, that is a leap of faith for sure.
But I don't remember her getting many jabs to go over there.
Yeah. It's fucking... Yeah, it would be so cool to see that part of the world.
Yeah. And I also, like, even just touching on that, like, I knew it would be a better experience for her alone.
Alone, yeah.
Because, like, if you're just talking about in general with people in travel, you know, if you and I were walking down a street and we're just talking away, you might miss that little side street that you go, oh, I wonder what's down there. And then you miss that conversation with that old man in that doorway.
Well, the best holidays I ever went on were by myself. Yeah. When I toured Europe by myself, because I was on my own time.
Yeah.
And I didn't have... Like, I could literally... Like you said, I could go down that side street.
Yeah.
And meet that fucking 9-year-old woman that was sitting out, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just all that weird shit.
Yeah.
But it's true. But that'll be crazy. Are you nervous about going?
No.
No.
I mean, nothing's booked yet because it's you can't book anything to like a year out. Like so my birthday's in November.
Yeah, same. I'm a November boy as well.
End of November?
18th.
Oh, so yes.
Scorpio.
Yeah, I mean,
do you get into Do you get into them as well? The star signs.
A little bit. Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, some of it's just too on the money, man.
My missus gets really into star signs. She says I embody a fucking Scorpio. I don't know if I don't know if that's good or bad.
I some of the stuff, man, like it's just too on the money to ignore. Like if you're with someone, if she's right into it, and like, you know, right into the nitty gritty of it, like then it's cool as the stuff that's in the fucking back of the paper is bullshit.
Yeah, that's just a write up. But she gets pretty into it.
The moon and the like whatever, like what moons. Yeah.
So she gets into the moon. So she asked me like what fucking time I was born. I was like, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, what Mercury grade or stuff like that. Sort of.
Like, it's great, but really, some of it is pretty accurate.
Yeah, man. And like, so a December Sagittarius is completely different to a November Sagittarius. Because I'm a November Sagittarius.
Yeah. So you're early.
Yeah, I'm the beginning of Sagittarius.
Yeah.
I think I'm right on the cusp. But like some of the characteristics of like what, like if you tune into my birth date and all that sort of stuff, I'm like fucking like I'll own all of that. Like it's even the bad stuff.
Yeah, so for Scorpio, if you just type in Scorpio traits, I have every single one of them.
Yeah.
So it's not wrong.
Yeah.
So I can't say like it's fucking wrong.
Yeah.
But like I would never like say would it deter you from getting with a girl if they were the wrong fucking star sign?
It's funny you brought that up because I've only ever been attracted to Aries or Leos, which are the most compatible.
They are.
Yep.
No shit.
Yeah. Always, and because it's like this, man. Because I need challenge.
Yeah, it's a fucking.
I can't like. and that, so if you read into it, like Aries and Sagittarius are two of the most compatible, but like it's also the most conflicting too.
That's like fucking anything though.
But I need that. Like
that's what I mean.
Like you were saying how you were earlier in this conversation, you said you need mental stimulation. Like I literally just went for a job interview yesterday, which will pay me significantly more money, I think, per hour. But I said to them, my main concern is that I'm not going to be mentally stimulated. It's going to be too easy.
Yeah, so you got to weigh it up.
Because I said I need to be thinking. I said I love solving problems. And so like what he was describing to me about the company was like, sounds pretty cool, but I'm like, sounds fucking easy. Like it sounds easy. I said like what you're selling to me isn't selling it to me.
But do you know what? That would probably sell 95% of the population if you can get more money for less brain work, because a lot of people don't do you know what they like? Being just fucking easy money.
Oh, it's not how time goes through slow if I'm not thinking.
Fucking, I couldn't think of anything worse than going to a job and just fucking having a zone out for 9 hours of the day.
Yeah. And that's what even you said, like circling back, you go like, do people piss you off? And it's just like, I get so triggered at work with guys that are just lazy. Like,
but it's really common.
My mentality is like, and I've said this to my boss, I'll say it to anyone, is actually, I even say it to my apprentices, it's like, the mentality has to be you win, I win. Like, you win, my boss wins, because I do the work that he pays me for. I win, I get paid for the work that I do. And when I was saying this to one of the apprentices that was working with me last year, I said, even in this period where you are right now of your apprenticeship, you have to work through the feeling of it's that I lose, you win, to get to the point where it's like you win, I win. Because at the moment, you can be a slacker and just take it for a ride and like do bare minimal. But like, if you want to get to the point where you can go like, fucking pay me the money I want or I'm leaving, and them going, okay. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to go through the period of like where it feels like you're losing to earn the right to
gain the skill,
the fear, to like pull those strings,
to gain the skill.
Yeah, and to like be able to demand more money than what other people are getting paid.
So do you have anything, before we finish this up, do you have anything that you want to tell people, especially young people?
I always hear this on podcasts, and I'm like, ooh, I've never been put on the spot.
Particularly young people. Or anyone just fucking going through it. Just day to day.
Know that your problems aren't specific to you. What I have felt and learned through my experience is that, like, in conversation, we are all humans. We all go through the same stuff, and it's all relatable. Like, I feel like being vulnerable is like dipping your toe in a pool of, like, to see what the temperature is like, and you're like, it's never that bad. So to let go of the fear of talking about what you need to talk about, because 9 times or 10 times out of 10, if you speak from that place and push through that fear, the person that you were speaking to will relate in some way or another. That's my personal experience. And that, like, even in a conversation with someone that you can know is going through something, talk about something that you've gone through that's hard, and let that be the permission slip for that person to share something. Like, rather, it's like, if you can tell that person needs to speak about something, but because they're so in the thick of it, they just do not have the inability to, like, open up, talk about something that you've been through that has been really hard, and then let that be the permission slip for that person to talk about. Like, that's just my experience. Like because vulnerability is just it's a strength, not a weakness.
Boom. That was fucking really fun, man. That was. I'm gonna have to go inside and reflect. That's the first podcast I'm gonna have to go inside now and just fucking sit in a corner and just be like, fuck.
I actually worked with a guy a little while ago, and he first day. After the first day we worked together, he come in the next day. He's like, "Man, I have to go home and go straight to bed after today." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Fuck, some of the stuff we talked about. It was great, but like,
It was too much."
it was too much." He's like, "Why is this fucking circuiting?"
No, that was a fucking pleasure. It was really good. And so people can catch you on Instagram.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, definitely.
Listen to some of your stuff. You post some cool shit.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
If you just want to see some good fucking body pics.
Oh, that's playing the game though, eh? It's fucking horrible.
Nah.
I battle with that.
Nah, that's good, man. But that was fucking really fun, and I appreciate you coming on heaps, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, mate.